Welcome to the Weekend Must Watch on Intercut, the weekly show going through the movies, TV, and entertainment that people just can't cut away from. I'm your co-host Arturo Zurita, and joining me to bring February movies back from the dead. Kind of. If you would have come out of the movie, which he's fresh out of, it might have been a different story. I
Yeah.
think he may be a bigger fan of the January movies than what we've been getting in February. But Zachary Shevich, joining me here to talk about the newest movies of the week, even if they're the best ones that are out there.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, there's nothing quite as dramatic newly released as like the final hour of the Super Bowl, and I know that's not our usual topic of choice on this show, but it kind of feels like that sucked the air out of the room of a lot of the cultural discussion this weekend, or maybe it's just that all the studios pulled their movies that they thought would generate any kind of buzz outside of a Lisa Frankenstein, which is definitely for a completely separate demographic.
It is interesting, though, right? That January and February has been a dumping ground of bad movies, but we've never argued about them not being original. They're just bad. We've gotten this interesting mix where they're at least original. Other than Mean Girls, I guess, we have been getting Beekeepers. I guess that's an original action movie. Lisa Frankenstein is an original amalgamation. It depends whose adaptive screenplay rules you're taking, as we've discussed before. You can consider Lisa Frankenstein there. Out of Darkness is a pretty new one. I don't know if you had the chance to catch that, but that was doing some buzz out there as an indie. Upgraded online. Perfect Days, finally had the chance to see it. So it's not the biggest months, but at least it's been original projects. And I think that's what's pretty interesting about the stuff that's been out there. So I will give it that. Let's begin it, though, with Lisa Frankenstein, a movie that comes from director Zelda Williams. Do you know who Zelda Williams is?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to mistake that name, given the late Robin Williams' love for the Zelda video games. I did not realize that Zelda had aspirations for big screen film directing, but I'm kind of happy to see her here.
I think one of the more interesting things was kind of seeing the amalgamation of different probably influences that she had being under her father.
Mhm.
So I kind of I read, you don't get named Zelda Williams and not be of somebody, but she was talking about like being 34 and making it into the business. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. That said, though, when you're the child of like someone as massive as Robin Williams, I don't think like you making it at 34 is as interesting as a regular person who never had the ability to do so.
Right.
I thought it was an interesting mix of things, and that's probably coming a lot from Diablo Cody's script. I also rewatched a movie that they said it was going to be connected to this movie, Jennifer's Body, again, leading up to this. I don't fully see it. Maybe I was sleeping during the connection bit, but I guess it's just in the same zany world. I don't think they really need to be connected the same way that Argyle didn't need to be connected that last week. I love it. I think something like Your Monster that we discussed out of Sundance is a little bit more interesting than this, but this has become the year of the monster that you have in your bedroom that you're hiding. And this is a decent version of that.
Yeah, I was maybe a little bit less into it than you were. I think there are moments in the script where you see that cleverness that Diablo Cody's known for. There's some bits that are pretty funny. There's a few lines that are worthwhile. But for me, where the movie kind of lost it is the balancing of tones, because it's got this sort of sweet high school love story thing going on, and then it's also like a pretty grim, cynical comedy about like gross undead things. And I just
Is your problem that it jumps, or is your problem that it doesn't balance transitioning between them? Because I feel like we've had movies we like that do that.
Right. I'm not
This was like
opposed to it in principle, but I just kind of feel like it's trying to have it both ways and doesn't do either particularly well, or in a way that I jived with. It just sort of felt like uncomfortable in a way that feels very directed toward an audience that's not me. And I'm trying to sort of divide my own personal reaction to it, to the idea that I do think there's like an audience for this. And I think, like for an angsty teenager, there's going to be a lot to really like appreciate about its sort of subversive take on like school and relationships at that age. But I don't know, I just did not find a whole lot to enjoy about it particularly. Like, I didn't think there was a lot that was very funny, or a lot that I connected to dramatically. I know a lot of people really like Catherine Newton, and she's pretty good in this, but not, it's certainly not the role that I will think of when I think of her. Yeah, I don't know. It just didn't quite all connect to me.
What's the role you think of when you think of Catherine Newton?
I mean, probably. I
Quantumania.
don't know. The thing is, I wanted to say Freaky, but it is Quantumania now.
I'll give you Big Little Lies because technically she's in that show.
Yeah.
This is you have Warm Bodies out there.
Yeah. Which
Go watch
it
Warm
definitely
Bodies.
feels like in the mode of.
You have Bride of Frankenstein. You have a lot of incarnations of this movie that's already out there and is coming out. Like we mentioned, there are a bunch of movies that have played the festival circuits, especially the horror circuits, that are going to be playing with this idea of the monster that you have and really it being a form of you being able to come out of yourself. The flip here is that the Frankenstein monster is an old dude. So you have Cole Sprouse playing pretty much a non-speaking role. Even in these other movies that we're talking, there is a lot of back and forth. He is a mime for 75% of this movie, I want to say. He doesn't really speak, and I thought that was an interesting approach to it. It's just a lot of makeup that's on him. As you said, they jumped through a bunch of different genres. She is also a part of a blended family, so she has a sister who, I don't know how you felt about her. She was like the very perky one, was trying to kind of add a complete opposite energy to Catherine, who's awkward.
Timing. Yeah.
She had good comedic timing. I'm curious to see what she does in the future.
Totally.
Here, like you said, Cole Sprouse and Catherine Newton, when they do interviews, are the most awkward people. For the people who wake up in the morning and get soothed by those awkward interviews, this is your movie. The intro is animated. The colors pop. The production design is insane. Like, the quotes that may not have worked for us, for somebody, it's going to be that quotable that they're going to have for the rest of the year.
Yeah, it definitely feels very like in the spirit of Tim Burton, both visually and in terms of the substance of its story, but it definitely doesn't quite get to those levels at the same point.
Agreed. Carla Gugino, though?
I mean, she can do no wrong.
She can yell at me all day.
It's funny, between her and Laura Linney, who's in a movie we're going to talk about later, like a big week for like great actresses playing mothers that you would not want to have.
Yell?
Yeah.
That is true. Damn. Okay. So that is one connection that we have right there for Lisa Frankenstein.
Yeah.
We'll compare the two in terms of how they are for coming of age, but go ahead.
I was just going to say, like, you were giving some comparisons to things that are maybe a little bit more spiritually similar to this one.
Yeah.
The other thing is that Poor Things is still in theaters, and that is like the superior to this kind of thing in every way. Like, obviously, that's very, very different type of movie.
That's when you deconstruct the peanut butter and jelly sandwich and come up with a brioche marmalade thing right there. Yeah, that's superior for sure. Yeah. But for like the regular mainstream crowd, I can see why there's going to be the young adults who like this one. I am on the side that I think Your Monster will be more for the horror fans, because would you call this a horror? It's that horror adjacent.
Yeah. It's more of
you were saying Tim Burton, because Tim Burton is like visiting horror.
Exactly. It's more of like a quirky comedy with horror elements than it is a actual horror movie. Like I can't think of a scary moment. Even the things that would be considered scary, like kills or gore or violence, are all played for laughs.
Exactly. It's more disgusting than it is out of fear. Yes. All right. Well, Lisa Frankenstein, I personally would give it a rent it. I don't think you need to leave to the theater unless you're really excited for it. I think you can catch it in the comfort of your own home. Zach, I don't think is as high
I went 2 stars on my Letterboxd review. It's not for me.
All right. So watch the trailer if it interests you. I'm sure it's going to be on VOD in like a couple of weeks, but let us know if you're a bigger fan of this movie or a bigger fan of the, I guess, spiritually connected one, which is Jennifer's Body. Look, have you rewatched Jennifer's Body?
No, I have not.
Okay. If you do, we'll have a conversation.
We'll bring Amanda on for that one.
That would be a good talk. I know she just rewatched it as well. But going from Lisa Frankenstein to a movie that I know was on a lot of people's double bills, Lisa Frankenstein, and then obviously Perfect Days, the international nominated Academy Award picture that is actually Japan submission, even though it is directed by, what is Vim? German?
Wim Wenders? Yeah, he's German, I believe.
This man has directed the movie of this year that I would call the Drive My Car.
Mhm.
You gave me a perfect example of I can't call it a classic, but another director like Wim Wenders who does the festival circuits and comes out with these peaceful, over 2 hours, almost reaching 3 hours meditations that while you're watching 6 films at a film festival, you're supposed to just stop everything and watch the toilet movie. I don't know about that. But Perfect Days is a movie that if you had a matinee morning to go to an art house theater, you are going to be pleasantly surprised by a slice of life movie that I think on repeat viewings is going to stand out even more because it's a long one. But after you're out of it, you start talking about like, wait, the shadow. We can't walk down the street without comparing our shadows getting darker, right? It's one of
Mhm.
those movies where you're just going through the motions of a toilet cleaner. And it's one of the best directed movies of the year.
Yeah, it is a movie full of these like really wonderful small moments that give you kind of this appreciation for life. You know, it's a very, very simple story. Basically, just about this porter's routine in cleaning these
Mhm,
public toilets. But in repeating this routine and spending this time, a lot of it very silent. You know, you just sort of observe these little details and these things that alter a day or enrich a day. And when you're going through your normal busy day and you listen to a song, it might be a thing that you just sort of have in the background and don't think about. But in the context of this movie, after several dedicated minutes of thoroughly scrubbing down uh washrooms,
impeccable
then
routine.
then carefully unfolding a beautiful egg salad sandwich and then hitting play on that cassette tape, that song just hits a little bit differently and gives you like an appreciation for like the beauty that the finer things in life can add to an experience. I
Mhm.
just I feel so enriched by this movie.
Yeah, I'm sure you can go into it on a very tired day and just be like, "Okay, I just saw a guy cleaning stuff toilets." You get to learn a little bit about his relationships, within his workplace and a little bit out of it, but it seems very simple, but it is very profound. The
Yeah.
comparisons between you kinda see it there in the trailer. What a beautiful honestly, the poster's so freaking beautiful. This idea of nature being at the top while he's there enclosed in his almost concrete little room, that he spends his days at the park staring at a tree while at the same time the tower he stares at on the way to work is the something tree. Like they also named it after a tree, but it's the sky tree. Thank you. It's the complete opposite of the nature that he's looking at the park. That his place, not to get into too much into it, because these are the details that you see in the movie, but
Mhm.
it's little subtle things of like you were saying in his morning routine, what he decides to take with him, and what day those items are reserved for. Just a very well crafted movie. I can't wait to revisit it again because I think it's in those little details that it really starts to expand more and you start picking up uh, more out of it. But I hope people get the chance to catch this. I know I had a very delayed release. It did get the Oscar nomination for
Mhm.
foreign or international film, sorry. So there should be a chance that people start getting it in some places. I barely got it next to me, but it is definitely worth the watch if you've had this one on your radar. You had compared it to Patterson, another
Yes.
movie that is very I don't even like using the word slow. I think we have like a
Patient.
meditative, patient. It you have to watch it. There's no other way to put it. We've all seen slow movies, but once you get to that slow movie with a purpose, that's when you become an adult. And Perfect Days is the most adult movie of the year. Catch it if you
Yeah.
can. Full combo price for me.
Yeah, I was very excited to see that you finally caught up with this one. I believe you said that this was like the number one movie on your wish you had caught it before we did our best of the year last year. You think it would have made at least an honorable mention had you had the
Bro,
chance?
that toggle didn't even have others on it. It was just the last one. Like, you know how infuriating that is? I wish there was a dozen more. No, it was this one. I think I might have still had it as an honorable. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I still like Patterson more.
Oh yeah, you still put that one ahead?
So I think because of that, if it would have surprised me that much, and if it would have been
Mhm.
ahead Patterson, yeah, we would have had to have done some rearranging. Maybe definitely would have peaked into the top 10, maybe 11. Um, I'm comfortable with it not being there, but I definitely would have wanted to have given it an honorable mention.
Yeah.
Same
I
way we did
definitely
for Drive My Car and other lengthy ones.
totally. I definitely still want to give it a rewatch. I like you would probably still put Patterson Drive My Car ahead of it, although it is
Same.
definitely like in league with movies like that. But it is so beautiful, and as we've sort of I think like talked around, there's one scene in particular that happens toward the back half of the movie that I think just colors everything you see in a new light. in just like the most beautiful way. And I would like to again get that chance to revisit it with the knowledge of where it's going to.
Send it in the chat, bro. I gotta know what you're talking about because I'm thinking of another scene too. There was a long take. They'll do long takes, right? And a lot of movies will just do a static shot of an actor. But when that actor can act, when you've been sitting through their routines and you see a switch up happen, all you need is a shot on them for a full song, and I think it delivers.
Yeah, great
Fantastic.
movie.
So you brought you and AO, my favorite podcast, talking about my favorite movie from last year. Hey, I know. I knew you had it in your top 10. I didn't realize it was all the way at top.
I think
Did it
Connor
actually
was
release
another
over there?
one who really loved it. He said Ewan might have caught it at a festival or
Festival,
something like
gotcha.
that, given but yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people really connected to Perfect Days, and hopefully more people will too as it now starts to expand its release.
100%. The next one that I have, you said you didn't catch, so I'll keep it pretty brief here. But there is another movie out there that got a like super indie release. He's been working on this movie for a while. An indie filmmaker called Andrew Cumming, who made a film that takes place at the dawn of man. Is that what it says? Dawn, yeah. Out of Darkness is like Sasquatch once they've like become human. Like literally, it's the Sasquatch Sunset Story that we saw. But you got a group of just like what is it? Two women, three men, who are walking around just trying to stay out of the darkness because there may or may not be a beast out there and they don't know what it is. I think it is beautifully shot. I'm going to shout out one specific thing. There is a transition, Zach, that I cannot wait for you to watch. You may not even like the movie, but this transition follows them walking through the forest. And as it's following them this way, it stops and they're walking towards it. I don't like, there's no other way for me to explain the shot for you other than for you to see how he got them walking this way and in front in the same take. Some beautiful imagery here. But the story isn't the strongest it could be. I'm not going to say that it's a bad story, but it's one where like the characters make mistakes that you're not supposed to blame on the writer. You're just supposed to go. I mean, they were so old back then. They didn't know what they were doing. They're cavemen. Damn
yeah.
I heard they made up a language for this. I heard that it's supposed to be this AI generated language that the actors then learned. So it made it seem like they were in a completely different time. I do find that interesting. I think there's a lot of effort put into the costumes and such, but they look very modern. I think it has that same critique that something like Prey got, where people were a little iffy of like, oh, is it because it's minority characters? I can tell you right now, those haircuts were not had back in the day. I know how some of these need to be kept. I think that was a criticism that, you know, got a little wavy turny, but they do make them look a little too modern. But the budget that this had and the product that they were able to make out of this, I thought was pretty interesting to get it out into theaters. For most people, they may be curious when it hits Netflix or something like that, because this has a fraction of the budget for 65. The one that what's his name was in?
Adam Driver.
And I think this might be doing better than that one did. So
awesome.
Out of Darkness, a little indie movie out there, just to give it a little shout out if you were curious about it. I'd give it an average rent it for me.
It is funny that you compare it to Sasquatch Sunset. I heard that if you see this theatrically, they have a trailer for Sasquatch Sunset attached to it.
They did. I'm so glad you mentioned that. And that might be why I had connected it immediately. Dude, I don't know where it is. It is an incredible trailer for Sasquatch. All our favorite jokes are in there.
Oh, man. I can't wait for that to come online. Apparently,
they're both
Bleeker's
releasing,
releasing,
I think.
Yeah, in April. So,
really? Okay.
But speaking about Out of Darkness, in terms of the tone of the movie or the feel of the movie, you mentioned Prey. Is it sort of similar to that in that kind of like ominous threat with minimal dialogue going on, or is there maybe a better point of comparison?
No, it's because it's also to the extent of who is going to be the leader, who's going to fight this monster. Is it our lead female character who feels that the circles that she's? Yeah, it's literally the same tech. I'm not. It's through and through. Even with Sasquatch, without getting too much into Sasquatch, a very similar thing of who is leading this small little tribe as they're going through the wilderness. So, again, it's one to add into the list if you're a fan of those types of movies. If not, this may not be the one for you. But Out of Darkness, out in theaters right now. One that's at home that I almost didn't have on my radar until people kept talking about it, because this thing had an 80% on Rotten Tomatoes, and for a rom-com to have 80% on Rotten Tomatoes, that to people is damn near an Oscar. This is an Amazon Prime movie about a woman who takes a job, and of course, as she's on her way over to this job, comes across a very, very rich dude who may or may not be kind of connected to this job position that she's about to take, but may also be her future lover. I'm blanking on where he's from. I think he's from the a Netflix show that probably got canceled as well. So he was available to work. But we've seen Camila do a bunch of these movies for every service. If you've got one, she's got you, bro. Let's count them down. We got one for Hulu over here, Do Revenge, right? I think this one was Netflix's. This one's Prime's. This is another Netflix one. She will give every streaming service one of these little rom-coms over here, just to get everybody, give everybody a piece. But I think out of a lot of the Riverdale people, she still has a successful route. Like, it may not be our boy who didn't get his Oscar nomination out of Riverdale, but like she's still getting work. She is never called out in any of these movies. And I think Upgrade is another one where it's just that what would you call it? Like comfort watch that I think people are looking for of getting a new job. So it's got that Devil Wears Prada-ness to it. And then the romance that dealt with, getting an upgrade at an airport and how that leads to you finding the love of your life.
Yeah.
So
no, it's funny that you mentioned the Riverdale connection, because Charles Melton said something that kind of made me reevaluate a lot of those people who go through the kind of young adult grinder of TV, that it's sort of like the new soap opera training ground, and that they ask you to do so much and sell so much ridiculous dialogue that it ends up being this really good acting school. And you look at people like Julianne Moore or like Alec Baldwin, who got their start in soap operas, Chadwick Boseman and Margot Robbie more recently.
That's crazy. It's a new version.
Sometimes it's a nice proving ground for these young actors.
How do you feel that the new one is YouTube original sketches?
I mean,
TikToks. That's the new Second City.
We'll see. I mean, Lily Singh's got a movie at South by Southwest, right?
She does, and we got some YouTubers out at South by directing features as well. No, I can definitely see that, because I mean, even taking it back, right? Not iCarly, but the other one, Victorious, and now you got Wicked, starring Ariana Grande, who's still here, right? After all of it, so I guess it does build it up. You had also helped me out here. You mentioned he's from Shadow and Bone, canceled, so that kind of sucks for him, because I think he's a good leading man. He's a good looking dude. He can handle it. They're perfect together, but they haven't really gotten that big one that stuck, because I couldn't name you any of those other movies that I just shouted out as being hits for their services. They trend for like the week and then they're out of the top 10. Holy smokes, bro. I just learned something here. The director of this movie did The Blazing World.
Oh man, I had completely forgot about that movie until this
Sundance
moment.
2020, a short
Virtual
film turned into a feature, in where this director, writer, star really like capturing herself in red, as you can see.
Ugh.
Oh wow. Hey,
yeah, not my favorite.
She got a little better, Zach. So if you do catch Upgraded, she upgraded. Better directing. It is out on Prime. Give it a watch if you wanted a cute little Valentine's Day, I guess, since it's right around the corner.
Yeah.
But the last one that we have is probably not a Valentine's Day. It's probably not even a family pick, because it's a little bit more melodramatic than I expected it to be. But it was, I think, a winner out of the U.S. dramatic competition at Sundance, because I think Nico Parker ended up snatching an award for performance in the movie Suncoast.
Nice.
Was she worthy of it, Zach?
I mean, I thought she was pretty convincing. I don't know if it's my choice personally for like the best performance out of all the movies at Sundance, but I thought she was good, and she was really good, and she really sells this story that puts a heavy emotional burden on its actors. I thought Suncoast was pretty good. I thought this was a pretty like sweet and empathetic but real perspective on going through this kind of difficult situation where you have a family member that's under intense medical care, and it's about it's a semi-autobiographical tale of the writer director's own upbringing with a brother who was put into hospice care, and very coincidentally and tangentially related to the story, in the same facility where Terry Schiavo was. For those of you who are listening who are younger than me, which is the vast majority of you, Terry Schiavo was a woman around whom there was like a national media story about her husband had been taking care of her, although she, I believe, was brain dead but still alive, and he had chosen to remove her feeding tube in order to end her end of care life. But her parents had protested that and wanted to keep her alive. It turned into this big pro-life versus
I remember that.
pro
Yeah.
end of life care story. And yeah, I mean, it's just adds this sort of like fascinating real world context to the
Yeah.
background of the story that is otherwise not really about that story, which I thought was kind of interesting in centering this in a time and place. That's one thing that I think the film does well, is it really does
Yeah.
feel of a time and place. The way that these high school parties are, the elements of preparing for oncoming tropical storms, like it really does feel like ripped from her memoirs or her diaries or whatever. I don't know if it's like the deepest or most unique perspective being shown in the story, but I thought it was effective at least.
Hmm. I think it's a good cross of being one of those movies we talk about where it's like this seems to have a really big budget to be in the U.S. dramatic competition for first timers
Right.
at
You
Sundance,
got
but it
Laura
has that indie
Linney and
spirit,
Woody
right?
Harrelson.
The cast is stacked. It was already picked up by who would it technically be if it's on Hulu? It's
I thought it was
Searchlight.
Focus Features, or
I
maybe
thought
it's
it was
Searchlight.
Focus too, but it's on Hulu, so it's obviously a big name. But it's a good mix of it being like a high production from a studio and then something that would have that Sundance indie feel to it. I thought Nico Parker was good. I thought, like you were mentioning, the relationship between her and her classmates, her peers, the banter that
Yes.
they had back and forth, I thought that was fresh. There's a
Mhm.
lot of times where you feel it go into a very stale place or where it needs it to go. And I like that the movie didn't do that. There are moments where another movie would have done something stereotypical because it needed the story to go that way. And the friends would just be like, oh, well, that's something that happened, because that is more how teenagers would be, especially how you were mentioning in this town. I don't feel like a storm happened because they needed it for the plot. Things
Right.
happened exactly how she recalled it while she was living there.
Exactly.
It was interesting that you had mentioned that the story and the connection there, because I have two things. One, it reminds me of, do you remember the movie Me Before You?
I don't off the top of my
Um,
head. I will give it a quick Google.
Finnick from Hunger Games
Right,
had like
right,
MS,
yes.
and he's like, I want to, pass. And it was what's her name from Game of Thrones who had to make the decision for him.
Amelia Clark.
That movie got boycotted, obviously, and that was when that story really came up as well, because they felt that that was kind of pushing, the idea of whether people are for that or against that. What
Yeah.
would it be considered? Assisted. I'll
Yes,
just leave it at that.
yes.
The assisted take on that. But the second thing would be is, do you feel that this is a better version of a critique that May December has gotten?
Well, okay, so if we're talking about the idea of basing something on reality but changing some details and like the exploitative nature of Hollywood using the stories of real people, I think this is different in the sense that this is coming from the perspective of a person who went through this, right? Like
Mhm,
it's not the writer director Laura Chin making up what it would be like to be in Terry Schiavo's family. It's their experience having a tangential connection to a real world story. It's very
mhm.
passingly commenting on the real world story. So I feel like it steers clear of those types of ethical concerns. Not that I had those concerns
Yeah.
particularly for May December, but it is able
Neither of us
to,
did, yeah.
yeah. But like it is able to, comment on it in a way without it feeling like it's exploiting that story. There's enough of a personal connection there where they have some similarities that are impossible to deny.
For sure. You had mentioned Laura Linney as having that double feature of moms who are just yelling and yelling and yelling, and I think Laura Linney is way too talented to be doing the same yell she's been doing since, I feel like, the beginning of Ozark and several
Yeah,
other movies that we've been seeing her in. I don't know, man. I just feel like we can get more interesting roles out of her at this
yeah,
point in time.
she's a fantastic actress and just frequently overlooked about in terms of like our best um actors of her generation. And
Yeah.
yeah, it just kind of gets put in a lot of these thankless parts
Hmm.
recently, feels like.
Yeah. But she was still pretty good in this movie.
Yeah,
I liked her.
no, she's excellent. It's just we know she can do more. And at least,
Yeah.
and to Ozark's credit, they find some more to do with her as the series goes along.
As the series goes on, that's what I'm saying. She is worthy of interesting roles, not just the standard dramatic, I'm the mom who's going to yell at you and I will hit this note. That's easy. That's recess time for her. So
Mhm.
I'm curious to see what more they do for her. I think Nico Parker's going up there as well. Obviously, daughter of Dandaway Newton, which is why she looks so much like Dandaway, and why it worked perfectly. I think in I know she was in Dumbo. I don't think her mom was in, but in Reminiscence, they were able to play off that. So I'm rooting for Nico Parker. I hope she's got a bright future for her. And I think
Yeah.
Woody Harrelson might be around for a minute too.
Yeah,
I have good faith in
it's
him.
a pretty solid actor. By the way, it was
We got some good
Searchlight
stuff.
that
Oh, it was
released it.
Searchlight. Okay, yeah. So
Yeah.
makes sense. Hulu. But that is our releases for this week. Lisa, Perfect, Out of Darkness, Upgrade, and Suncoast. My pick was gonna have to be Perfect Days. If you have the ability to go catch that at an art house theater near you or AMC, whatever is playing it, I think it's worthy of the watch, especially if it was something that's been on your watch list. If not, maybe wait for it because it is a slower movie if you're not used to those. But I think it's definitely worth putting on your radar. You had some Sundance movies you wanted to
Yeah,
mention.
well, so we just talked about Suncoast, which was a Sundance film, but
Technically,
there are a
yeah.
couple other movies that we didn't really get to spend that much time on during our Sundance Awards or our Sundance Top 10 that maybe slipped through the cracks, and I thought were worth at least circling back to, even if it's briefly. Did want to give one more shout out to what's probably my favorite documentary of the festival, your late edition favorite documentary of the festival,
Had to.
Daughters, just an absolute knockout of a film. I don't believe when we were recording that Netflix had yet swooped in and
I
picked
don't think
this one
so.
up. So
But
yeah,
they were fighting for it.
they were, and there's a good reason there's a bidding war for this one, because I think
Yay, nay on
there's
that
not going to
pickup.
be a dry eye in the house watching a movie like this. So I'm of two opinions. That, like, one, I love when movies get their full theatrical due, and Netflix is not a not a studio that emphasizes that. But at the same time, documentaries are not movies that tend to be like big box office draws or get wide releases anyway. They're not playing whatever documentary in the AMC in Omaha or something
For
like that,
sure.
right? So in this sense, sometimes Netflix is a good platform to get documentary filmmaking out there. And
See.
there's probably
Yes.
more documentaries being watched on Netflix than on any other like platform, including theatrical.
But can you name me a documentary that you would have put up for Best Picture that came out of Netflix?
That's the other problem. And then we also get into the whole algorithmic choice that Netflix forces upon you, and the fact that a lot of movies get buried on Netflix. Netflix
Right?
just last year spent $20 million on Fair Play, and yeah, that had like a decent
Woo!
weekend on Netflix, but it
That
feels
didn't
like
have
that
a
was a
fair play.
flash in the it was a flash in the pan.
So, do you think that it's also a matter of you put the Netflix logo on there and people reduce it? I'm speaking for audiences because I feel I sometimes do that as well. I know that Icarus is
Mhm.
an Oscar-winning movie. It's another one on Netflix. I
Yeah,
like
I
the
mean,
Travis Scott movie. It's another one on Netflix. But you're right. People get to see it. But damn, if Daughters had Sony Pictures Classics, I think we'd remember it a lot more.
yeah, and I think there maybe is like a subconscious, unconscious
Yes.
bias at play,
Yes.
because, like, it might not even be literally the Netflix logo or the Netflix app. It might just be like, I know this movie went straight to streaming. I didn't have to hear about it in theaters and hear, like, I should have had get the recommendations that I should have seen
People
it in
feel that.
theaters.
Yeah.
Because, like, if you look at the top rental movies, right, like the movies that dominate the iTunes charts or the Amazon rental charts and stuff, it's not stuff that goes straight to streaming. It's stuff that had a theatrical release.
Yeah.
It's the movies that sort of drive people, uh like, have them motivated to actually try and spend money and pay attention to them. So I don't know,
Exactly.
I hope that it's not going to be overlooked. I could see it happening. I don't know. I'm just hopeful for this one in
Yeah.
particular.
I am too, and it's a fantastic movie, so it's definitely going to stand out. And like you said, it's not a bad thing that it's on Netflix. It is great. People are going to watch it. It is going to resonate. I just hope that the idea that people look at Netflix documentaries as like the new fad thing that's being talked about, whereas I feel HBO gets the good critiques of like, oh, that's an HBO documentary,
Right.
whereas this is like the new Netflix doc of the week. This is not a Netflix doc of the week, but damn, is it perfect because this is the place going with the themes of the movie where it's going to reach the most people. So 2 thumbs up for Daughters for sure.
Yeah, I wonder if that's something that Netflix is going to have to consider, is how they can make certain films feel like a bigger deal than other films on their platform, and do
That
it in
too.
a way that doesn't discount like the lesser films or whatever it is.
Simple.
Um,
Actually release it in theaters.
I agree with you. Actually, I think that's a pretty simple solution to their problem. But
And
Bella
VODs,
Bajaria
like you
might not
said.
agree.
Okay,
Yeah,
another classic right here,
yeah.
and this one
So
is
another
picked up by a.
Netflix as well.
Oh, for real?
Yeah, yeah, Netflix. This is part of my larger point that I want to make here. So, Will and Harper is another one that we had in our top tens, and we discussed how delightful it is. Netflix swooped in and picked up this documentary as well. A notable choice, given that that Netflix has faced a lot of criticism for the specials from Dave Chappelle and from Ricky Gervais that have controversial material in them,
May
and
I
then this
though?
being a real and then this being a trans focused documentary. Go ahead.
We're gonna get into Super Bowls, and Jon Stewart is back. And Jon Stewart's only back because he had beef with Apple and it didn't work out. Because he's
Mhm.
like, "Hey, Apple, I don't agree with this. I'm gonna make an episode." They left. We're gonna get into all that again, but that's the
Yeah,
precursor to this, right? I think Apple, Disney, all of these people truly believe in that stuff. You and I know that Netflix is such a what's even the word? I don't even know the word to call it. They don't care.
yeah. No, they are driven by what will generate traffic, what will generate
It is
clicks.
unreal. Yeah, Netflix
Yeah,
really is different from Peacock, Hulu, everything else. They will fund a documentary calling out Netflix. They funded the Blockbuster doc. They're crazy. I don't think, yeah.
yeah.
So
No,
I
they
truly believe that they have no problem giving money to someone who actually, I don't think Dave hates trans people, but someone
no.
who has no problem pissing them off. And then for the support, they will pay for both. That's Netflix.
What I think is notable is just like the blatant playing both sides, right? They're not like
That's
they're not
Netflix.
we're the anti place or we're the pro place. We're just the
We're the
big
marketplace.
content
Yeah,
funnel, right?
exactly. Yeah.
We give you everything.
They plead the fifth.
Yeah.
Um, that said, though, a good pickup spot as well, I guess, especially when it comes to how it's going to be released. But I do think this would have been another one, Sony Pictures Classics. I don't know why I'm sticking to Sony Pictures Classics for my docs, but
No, but
both of these would have been great Sony
it's
Pictures
a
Classics.
gives it an air of dignity, right?
You know
And
it does, yeah.
this is one that, like, especially with the added hook of Will Ferrell, actually might have gotten some butts in seats,
Hmm.
right? Like the documentaries that tend to make a splash are the ones that have some notable figure attached to them.
This
Um,
is the one about going out and touring in America, but they don't want you to go out and go the 2 miles to. Okay, like
exactly.
it's literally a movie about in this new phase of life. How do you congregate with other people?
Yeah.
Go watch, stay and watch it at home. I don't get that one.
Exactly.
I don't get that one.
So those two documentaries, as well as Skywalker's A Love Story, were
That's a trio.
all of Netflix's documentary pickups from the festival. A strong showing of documentary purchases. Do you think that Skywalker's is going to be a good fit for Netflix?
I think it's a good fit because of the influencer side of the story. You have the spectacle, right? They literally
Yeah.
go up to the highest parts, but it's that craving that I think you and I really focused on when we were watching this late at night. We're like, oh, these people like only care about the likes, but that's also what they're arguing against. It's like, no, this is their lifestyle, this is that. And I think the way that it plays it and really focuses on them as individuals who are trying to make something, in a world where everybody wants to be an influencers, is going to attract a lot of people. I
Definitely.
hope people aren't dumb enough to want to do this, but you never know.
You never know, especially with the Netflix effect out
Good
there.
visuals, though. I know you didn't like. I know you're not a fan of heights, but
Yeah.
damn, this was a movie that should have been seen in theaters because how are you watching this on your laptop when they're just a dot? Like on a screen, that poster, that shot right there,
Yeah.
it starts feeling like that climbing movie we really like, Free Solo. And you can only get that when you have real depth with it.
When I'm at like the top of a tall building or like looking over a balcony, I get this like tingly sensation at the back of my knees. And that was like me every two
That's
minutes
me.
watching this documentary. It was
No, that was me at the Airbnb.
it was it is terrifying in certain aspects. But yes, you're right. The footage is really, really incredible. All right,
So
a couple other documentaries that I want to give just a quick mention to. We saw Eternal You, which is looking at this company that is looking to program AI bots that embody the personality of a loved one after death. They're really doing that Black Mirror episode for real.
mhm.
It has a lot of similarities to another documentary we saw, which is Love Machina, which looks specifically at the creation of the Bina 48 AI robot, which is sort of takes on the personality of this inventor who also was the guy that invented Sirius XM, and it's a whole lot of
So crazy,
documentary
yeah.
in that one. And then Beanie 48 is also featured in Seeking Mavis Beacon, a documentary from the next category that we saw, which is a sort of like personal journey through technology and identity, trying to get to the bottom
Sure.
of who was Mavis Beacon. Of
For
these
sure.
films that are sort of technology focused documentaries, which one stood out to you the most from Sundance?
Probably Eternal Youth, because that's one where it's not the most profound take on it, but it's still a look at the subject as a whole. So
Yeah.
they are getting a lot of talking points. Like you were even saying, there were moments where they're taking pieces from, very big things of media that you've seen, but it's kind of giving you the overview that's not too in depth, but gives you like the starting points of like, yo, this is what they're working on. This is the approach that they're taking. Here's what's good about that, and here's what's bad about that. The AI story being told in that second one with the plant, the one that looks like a chia pet. This is like a biopic. This is somebody who damn near paid for their story to kind of just be chronicled. So I don't really see this about the subject as it is a subject dealing with the subject, if that makes sense.
Right.
It's really about those two people. Then that
Yeah.
last one goes even deeper than that, because at least this one was about two rich people who use the technology. This last one is about a girl who learned how to type and then is like, I'm gonna make a Sundance documentary about how important this was to my life. Yet every time I ask my family about where a copy of this program is, ain't nobody remember it. This to me was a YouTube video at the end. The middle one was a rich person paying for a documentary, and that last one was I guess at best like a Vice amalgamation of what AI is going to be doing in the future. This would fit perfectly on Netflix.
Yeah, I think Eternal You is probably the best of the few that I mentioned there that take on the subject. Like, it actually is one that sort of interrogates the ideas behind all of this, and gives you kind of, the optimistic spin and the cynical perspective on it as well. And and just personally with AI, I find myself so frustrated by a lot of the discussion around it, and
How so?
at least just in terms of like the unabashed optimism of some people around its potential use. And
But I think that's just your approach if we were talking about anything else.
Sure. I am a negative person, but I think this documentary like, while it will also like show the reasons why people are so excited about it, it gives a lot of voice to the kind of negative opinions that I have too. So
And
at least
there should be
I felt
there should
heard
be a
at
lot of them.
least. Yeah.
Yeah. And like you said, it's not the end all be all of all of them, but I know
No.
Zach stands on no ghosts.
Yes,
I believe your AI stands
anti-ghost,
for the people.
anti-monster, anti-zombie, anti
Which
AI. I'm just anti. I'm
well,
reality based,
for the
but
record,
not
you said you don't believe AI we will reach AI. You just think we're going to get very, very, very
oh,
strong
okay.
programming.
If we're doing this conversation, yeah, I like am not a
Spiritual
champion
person.
of the
Do you
future of AI. I feel like it's just better and better versions of predictive text.
No, I think this is a fascinating conversation, because I also do agree with that sense, because in order to believe in a subconscious being formed from a robot, that
Mhm.
would be spirituality at some point, no?
Yeah, right. I think it's the idea that like words have deeper meaning than just answers to questions sometimes. Like, I think a lot of times people want to read into a chatbot spitting words back out at you because it thinks it's satisfyingly answering your question,
Yeah.
that it has some kind of soul or something, when really it is just like the wheels spinning on a hard drive somewhere. And I don't know, but that is a longer discussion.
Yeah. Because it does. It gets deeper at a certain point. You're worried about what will make a robot human, but what makes a human human if most of us are just acting like robots? You're calling it
Exactly.
a very long algorithm, right? How many people actually think for themselves nowadays? And at that point, what are you really seeking to find? I think it was the conversation we've been saying about what separates AI art from human art.
Right.
And for a lot of people, I think that distinction is getting very tight, and what they're looking for, it may not always be found.
Do
Interesting
we want
talks.
to divert into AI art, since you're bringing that up, since there are
Hell
a lot
yeah.
of
That's a
AI
fair
art
enough.
sequences in Little Death, the midnight film from Jack Bergert? Or
No,
better?
no, next film.
Next film, excuse me.
I think it's because they used AI art that they were able to go
Right.
next. Yeah. Again, the next film, as I always say, is a movie where they're trying something innovative, whatever's supposed to come next, or it's one of those movies that tries something and you as a viewer go, next. I'm kind of done with this. And surprisingly, I think I was the one who liked this the most out of everybody. And that's it's hard to defend it because this is Edgelord the movie.
Yeah. It,
Yeah.
like sometimes
It's hard.
even more so than like Aggro Drift was, right? It
I
really
haven't seen Aggro yet, but I've heard. Yeah.
Oh shoot, right.
It's like you're
Well,
it's like you're listening to a podcast at some points
yeah.
of this movie.
I I described this in my letterbox review as the first half being rejected voiceover lines from Ed Norton's Fight Club voiceover recording sessions.
Bro, yeah. It's like someone
And then the
remade it
second
badly.
and then the second half is like a journey around LA's drug scene with like the worst people that you've ever met.
Uh-huh.
But I wasn't bored during any of it. So I
Right?
think that is like to the film's credit. There is like a lot of creativity in there. Even the way that it implements the AI art is kind of creatively done. I think ultimately
That's
like
interesting talk.
where those AI art sequences fail is that I think it looks really ugly. Like it does that thing that you
Interesting.
see a lot of AI art do where it like
That's
it's
how we knew it was
constantly
AI.
evolving in a way that it's
Yeah.
like what is
You saw the
actually
Minions?
a thing. Yeah, yeah,
The
we
Minions
can
trailer
talk
made
about
fun
that
of it, and
later.
it's got that thing that you're saying where the way they spelled Despicable Me didn't look fully there, but it looked like it was forming. And I think that's the thing that gets people to notice AI art immediately.
Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, I still think that like it was kind of interesting and not
Yeah.
the worst movie, not by far not the worst movie I saw at Sundance. Like I would give it a mild recommendation. I went 3 stars out of after Sundance, but you said you liked it a little bit more. You think?
Yeah, I think I liked it a little bit more, and a lot of people, especially a lot of the stuff that's being spewed in the movie, we know that a lot of people can't differentiate between a character saying something and the movie
Hmm.
telling you this is how I
Yes.
feel. I feel a lot of people were not bored by this movie, but they gave it a lower score because of things that characters said, which is ironic because all of these characters are on drugs. So it's like I don't think you got the memo of what the movie was.
Right.
But many times we don't give. Go for it.
Particularly that first half, Schwimmer's character says so many things, but the entire movie is characters being like, "Oh, you're such a loser." Like, yeah, he's a
Yeah,
loser. That's why he
he's
thinks
a
these
loser.
things.
So when he's saying it, it's like it's kind of answering something to you. There was a bit that I saw yesterday about how millennials give themselves away when they call their dog doggo to Gen Z, and a millennial complained, "You can't take the word away from us," and they were like, "You idiot, you read it wrong." That's how a lot of people are approaching this movie. It is not saying that the main character is approving of this, and so is the director. They're making fun of him, and
Yeah.
then when you get to that midway point, it's actually a very interesting approach to how they split the script up. I think they're a great performance in this. I don't think you can give this that much of a negative score when you had one of the best supporting roles, in my opinion, with Jenna Malone coming in and just like
Mm,
killing that one scene. I thought that they had Dominic Fike doing the best performance he's done so far.
yeah.
What's her name too? That's in this movie from Never
Talia
Rarely.
Ryder.
Talia Ryder was fantastic in this film. They even have, I didn't know this. Jenna Malone could have been kidding when she said she's the cousin of the director. But that guy who you're mentioning as the dude you don't want taking you around LA,
Oh man, yeah.
that is actually the director's cousin.
I mean,
I
how do
wouldn't
you even
even,
find a
yeah,
guy like
I
that if
wouldn't
they're
even know
not?
how to find there. But
Yeah.
look, it is a fascinating movie. And all of that is to say that maybe we don't know when to give someone the benefit of the doubt because Veni Vidi Vici was another movie that came out. And the more I heard them talk about that movie, a satire about how the rich don't hunt, they just get away with killing people because they have so much money. I didn't like how they spoke about it, and I didn't really care for that approach. I've heard this guy speak about it, and I've been trying to give him the benefit of the doubt because he even got a massive cosign, Darren Aronofsky.
Producer on Little Death.
But then I remembered how people felt about the whale, and that may not be the cosign people want.
Yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting specimen for sure, and I feel like Jack Booger is probably going to be a person we hear from in a much bigger way in the future. Like this is kind of like a announcement of him as like a potential feature film talent, but you know, there's some stuff worth taking away from it for sure. If we want to mention very quickly that other movie you talked about, which
No,
it's
go.
if it's not my
I
least
haven't
favorite,
heard it.
it's my second least favorite of Sundance.
I think it was just completely off. Like it like the score is an NA because we just were not vibing with it. It's like when you order a drink, you take one sip, you're like, I'm not gonna finish this. I won't rate it.
Yeah.
But like
It's
it's not clicking.
yeah, it's so languid and just uninteresting. It starts in a place and just stays in that place for so long, and very, very predictable kind of uh damn the rich style movie
Yeah.
that we've just seen much better versions of. Infinity Pool was
Yes.
at Sundance last year.
Yeah, that was a better one. You saw the director's Meet the Artist?
I didn't actually.
That's all you need to watch is those 2 minutes to know. Get off your high horse.
Another movie
Real
that I
quick,
don't think.
AI.
Oh yeah,
Real quick. AI art.
back to AI. What about it?
Just 3 more hours. You make AI art. If you tweak it, is it original?
Uh,
If you are making different prompts and mixing them in the kitchen, can
if
you make
you
it a recipe that's original?
if you build a boat and you slowly replace each plank on the boat with new planks of
Vesuvius?
wood. I don't know, man. I mean,
Is
maybe
it
a
not
little
3D
bit.
printing at this point? We're almost 3D printing.
Wait, where did 3D printing come from?
The idea that you're replacing the stuff in your metaphor that's wood with wood, but we're not replacing wood with wood. We're replacing real art with AI generated art. But if that
Yeah.
AI generated art becomes like ingredients and you make something new with it,
Yeah.
it's kind of going back to your Vesuvius point. If you are replacing something with something, if nobody knows it goes back to if nobody knows the difference, doesn't matter. I'm asking, is that really what it's coming down to?
Well, I mean, I think there's blurred lines with all these things, right? Because, like, yeah, there's lots of AI art sequences in Little Death.
But there's auto tune in music, and some people never heard
Right,
it
right.
before. Does that mean auto tune wasn't there? So will AI be the same thing? Will some people not be able to notice it? I
Theseus is
think
the
we've
boat,
gotten
by
a
the
lot
way.
more AI. What did I say?
Vesuvius?
Oh, I said Vesuvius. Theseus, sorry. Next episode, all AI.
Yeah, but we'll see how it holds up. Maybe the computers
There
have
was
better
an AI.
opinions than us.
There was some crazy AI commercials at the Super Bowl where it's changing, bro. Like we could literally have our own letterbox original pictures if we wanted to at this point.
Let's move on to another movie that I don't think we particularly liked, and this was Winner. This is the latest of a series of movies about reality Winner, the infamous leaker of some U.S. military secrets of sort. Or I think it's actually the election secrets, if we're being more accurate. Susanna Fogel returns to Sundance, having directed this as well as last year's Sundance film Cat Person, another notable film that I don't think premiered as strongly as people had hoped or anticipated. This is another one that I think they were maybe hoping for a better reception than what they got at Sundance, because this one fell a little bit flat to me. Amelia Jones starring in this biopic that takes you from reality's time as a child, learning that dogs shouldn't be kept in cages, so you should free them from pet stores, to her, joining the U.S. military because she takes a language program. It just all kind of feels very box checky, Wikipedia style. Let me summarize these events for you, and then heighten them with some, kind of pithy jokes in the style of Craig Gillespie, but it is discount Craig Gillespie is best. This one just never really worked for me.
Great point. Oh, I agree with you. It's a lukewarm movie. They're trying to make it a comedy for, I guess, mainstream audiences, and they don't realize that in doing that, I think you had said the phrase heightened certain things. They
Mhm.
make her look so goofy. I think they make her look dumber when they're trying to
Yeah.
make her look smart. I think they're trying to make her look authentic and not like this big conspiracy. And the more they heighten things up, you make her actually look more guilty of things she shouldn't even be guilty of. So I don't know if it's a winner of a movie, but I did not dislike it as much as I thought I was going to. It's entertaining. It is meant for mainstream audiences, but I don't think it's the story that someone who put it on the line deserves. They try to make it a comedy so that you can
Yeah.
digest. Like at the end of the day, what she is still accused of, even whatever side you're on, is treason. And we're doing like Blue Beetle bits escaping U.S. Government facilities.
Right.
So
Like it's cute. They make it cute and fun
okay,
and pithy, and it's like, I
that's
don't
not
know.
my take. Yeah.
Yeah, reality, the Sydney Sweeney version handles this like so much more interestingly,
So there you go.
and still kind of feels like real and very like down to earth. I don't know. I just would
Connie
much
Britton needed
rather
more
watch
scenes.
which one? Oh, Connie Britton. Yeah, Connie Britton's very good. And
Needed more.
it's not the performances that failed this one. It really kind of is
It's
the
the writing.
writing. Yeah. Any other Sundance movies you want to hit that we maybe should have given a little bit more time to? I don't know if you had some more thoughts on Ponyboi or Good One, or anything in general. I could mention some stuff as well.
Shoot, mine for a good one is I think that is a performance from a young actress that I think is definitely going to be one to watch out for. I argued for her being on our up and coming list because there's one particular scene that is like the climax of the movie, and she just speaks volumes with her face. I think she reminds me a lot of in Leave No Trace when we got that like really big performance from Mackenzie, who she reminds me a lot of just from Never Really Always a couple of years ago, just being able to do a lot with saying very little while
Totally.
you're on a voice. So to me, big shout out to her as an actress.
Let's mention the Outrun briefly because I think this one got
All
a
your
lot of
three-star
shouts.
movies.
Yeah, right. Get them out of the way. This is one that we trekked to early in the morning because there was a lot of Saoirse Ronan's going to get nominated for an Oscar buzz around this one. She helped produce this movie as well with a company that she just recently left. I don't know if you read those news stories.
No,
I don't know. She just took a step back from the company now that they've made the
Damn.
Outrun. I don't know if there's bigger reasons for that. But
no, that's the review. Leave it.
right. Move on. I don't think she's going to get nominated for an Oscar for this. She's a great actress. I think the movie lets her down in a lot of ways.
No, I agree.
I'll also give a quick shout to War Game. This was the other documentary co-directed by Jesse Moss at Sundance outside of Girls State. This one I liked about as much as Girls State. It's a really solid documentary. It's a pretty interesting one too, in that it sort of is a response to the insurrection January 6th events, and it is like a documentary of this exercise that is a bunch of government and ex-military people getting together and going through a simulation of what if like the worst case scenarios on a January 6th style event actually happened. How would and could the government respond to it? And it's pretty gripping that, they shoot it kind of like a thriller. I think they do a pretty good job of like running you through the different like roles that these figures are taking in this military style simulation game. I wish that sometimes they did a little bit better job of like showing you what they were actually seeing and responding to. But this is going to be a movie that they tour around during an election year and is going to be a hot topic for sure. I'm curious whether or not it will get a run like on an HBO or something like that. But I anticipate that there's going to be a lot of discussion around this documentary at some point.
The premise sounds interesting. Don't get me wrong, and I was like
Yeah.
almost getting a little bit of like a not Riotsville in the way that it did at Archive, but in the idea of like we're showing you what Riotsville was an active drill on what we would have to do for a scenario like this, and they all play themselves, right? It's like the actual people who would have to be a part of the event. I'm curious.
It's very, very interesting. So yeah, I mean, that's most of the movies we covered a lot. Maybe give a quick shout to Ponyboi as a film that we enjoyed, even if it's just that they mentioned lots of places in New Jersey. But I thought it was well acted and felt lived in and an interesting drama. Not one of my standouts from the fest, but a solid one that probably some people will really enjoy. But if there's nothing else that you can think of, I think we can move on to either some news or some patrons, whatever you feel.
Let's do some news for the week because we did have the Super Bowl. We do have a new Oscar category. I don't even know what this Chris Nolan IP thing is, but let's start off with this first one that you had linked here. Disney, Fox, Warner, Discovery to offer a combined sports streaming bundle. I heard half of this.
Yeah. So
I don't care for it so far. So maybe pitch me. Not that you work for Disney, Fox, Warner.
Right.
But
I have a feeling that this could actually be the entertainment news story of the year. And I'm a little surprised it's not being discussed even more because largest.
Don't forget WWE. That's the other one, Netflix.
Yeah, there's all we didn't even mention that aspect too. We could get to that later, but three of the largest rights holders for sports in America announced their intention to launch a joint streaming service with all of their sports properties under one app. Disney, which owns ESPN, Fox, which owns Fox Sports, and Warner Discovery, the owners of Turner Sports, are all working together to offer a new package deal that would allow users to sign up for this new service individually or bundle it with another one of those apps like Max or Disney Plus. And while all the companies will be equal owners of this, revenue is not going to be split evenly, with Disney getting the largest slice of the pie, given that ESPN is bringing
ESPN
a
is
lot
massive.
of offerings to this app. The app is planned to launch for fall of this year ahead of the new NFL season and will offer the NFL, NBA, MLB, NHL, F1, some soccer, and some college sports. Notably, it won't have the EPL, the most popular TV soccer in America, that the English Premier League, that is with NBC, which is not part of this deal. Won't have MLS offerings; those are on Apple TV. It won't have the NFL games that are with Paramount Plus or with Amazon, or the Olympics, which are on NBC as well. This is none of the tech companies are involved with this. This is all old media companies coming together. But Art, I'm curious, since sports packages are far and away the largest source of revenue for cable companies, yay or nay, are the streaming services finally killing cable by offering their own version of the bundle?
No.
No?
Do you think so?
I think it could hurt. I think it could really hurt.
What does it hurt?
The cable companies, not the studios themselves, who will be getting the money directly from the apps, but your Spectrums, your Optimums, or whatever you have in Chicago.
But aren't those all just these people?
No, they're cutting these people out.
But they would. So there's one other thing in sports watching that is pivotal here, right? And that is that on cable, you can play ESPN the entire day. When you switch to, what did you call it? What are the other, YouTube TV, Hulu TV, Fubo, right?
Fubo? Yeah.
Whatever it is. Do you have all those? And now this is kind of pitching that it's going to be an extra app, which to answer your question like fully, all I'm hearing is another app, Zach. No, you just pitched me another app, Zach. How dare
yes,
you?
But it is an all-encompassing app. It's an app where you won't have to switch between all of these like the other apps.
Oh, except for MLS, NBC Sports, the Olympics, the blackout dates when it comes to what are you even talking about, bro? You know for a fact that you won't be able to see anything from New York because you can't get MLB, NFL, or anywhere without your home team being blocked. So already off the bat, it's ridiculous. And on top of that, you mentioned no Universal, who's got the Olympics, MLS, and Sunday Night Football. You are not getting all of the NFL when they still have Sunday Night Football. I don't care if you get 9 games. You're not getting the 7 o'clock game.
Well, so you say that too, but Paramount, the other thing that is another shoe waiting to drop are all the sales rumors around Paramount. So that might be even more NFL.
I agree with Paramount. Paramount got the morning ones.
Yeah.
But it's Universal, who I know you got a subscription for because of the MLS. So my thing is, why pitch me a different app if they were already on the services?
If you're an average consumer and you are paying for 5 apps and you're offered the chance to reduce it to 2 and still get basically all the same stuff, I mean, I'm ultimately curious what the price point is going to be, right? Because if this is a $20 a month thing, I think it's going to be a lot of signups. If it's closer to 40, then it might not be the cable killer.
Right. And then, like you're mentioning, it depends on the seasons. I think it's that we're moving away from that old style of cable companies being able to package everything. And now that we're moving to subscription services, a lot of those cable companies, or I should say the cable networks, just became NBC, Universal's Peacock. CBS is now Paramount Plus. This thing we talked about all the time. ABC is now Hulu and Disney Plus. The difference is what I was telling you. When you do cable, you can stream ESPN and all your sports all you want. There is no problem. Do you know what happens when you have to stream it off of your actual Wi-Fi? Nobody has unlimited. My brother had to switch back, even though he was getting 4K quality with a really good deal. But the math wasn't mathing because one day of watching Sunday sports was already capping his data. So I know
Mhm.
you're saying that they're screwing over the what do you call them, Spectrums, the Comcast, like the really big
The
people.
cable providers.
You don't think they're in the back going, this is better? Who needs 60 when now you're going to watch so much sports, and now I'm nickeling and diming you through the data you're using.
Sure, and maybe that's just the way that these companies are gonna have to make their money is by doing those types of tactics. But, I think
How's
it
that good for the
is
consumer?
this other way to cut the cable companies out of a revenue path that they've been relying on, and a lot of these cable companies are showing that they're in volatile spots, whether it's, through the mergers that are happening or, the
But they
cutbacks that are
provide the
happening.
internet for these people to host their stuff, no? I
Yeah,
think they're more in
but
bed than separate. I don't think they're fighting with each other. I think that's the I think different approaches that we're looking at it.
maybe, but it's certainly going to be an interesting shift, not just because of the shift from potentially going to cable to streaming, just that this is the first combined offering we've seen from these big companies since the shift to streaming, right? Like, they've made such a point of making their own separate ecosystems that everybody has their own app to push content through. And now, as we're seeing that the streaming path is not as profitable, is not as embraced by Wall Street anymore, they're returning to this model that tries to bring lots of content across different companies together. And I
Yeah.
just find that to be really fascinating, because the other part I didn't mention is that this isn't just necessarily about the sports. They're offering 14 different channels through this. So it's not just that you're getting the game when it's on TBS, you're getting TBS, you're getting TNT and
This is
ABC.
cable then.
This is a new form of cable through streaming.
I feel like we've had that for a while. Like I could log into Xfinity and watch my stuff, but now we have to name it, I guess, something differently.
Yeah, Max Plus or something.
It's like when the radio people realize that what they do on the radio when people doing podcasts are still the exact same thing.
Yeah. Or when
Um,
some tech giant tries to reinvent the bus.
yeah, it is just the exact same thing again. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that ESPN Plus was being incorporated into Hulu. I like that I've been hopping onto Max and they had the TNT NBA
Mhm.
games on there, dude. I mean, when you were over, I put one on. It looked crispy. They are finally on there in this past year, and now they're gonna remove them for another one. At the end of it, I still got to go nay for me. I like that integration that they had. I like Universal sticking to Peacock having it. I think that if I want a bundle, you you're separating it from the other apps that I have to call it a bundle. I find that tactic funny.
Yeah, I mean,
Here's another one to condense.
yeah, right. Like,
That's
it's
cable
just,
marketing.
yeah, I mean, it is kind of whack-a-mole apps at this point too, because I feel like, you sign up for a new streaming service, you're signing up for, like, maybe this will be around for the next 2 years, but who knows at this point.
Isn't that sad?
Yeah. Crazy. All right, let's move on to, do you want to do trailers, or should we do the Oscars?
Did you have any top 3 trailers from yesterday? We don't have to go through every single one because I know we tend to get hit with copyright as well. But I guess if we were going quickly through some of them, you had the A Quiet Place trailer,
Yeah, well,
as well as a bunch of other ones.
I was going to ask you, are you like, stock? Do you think the stock is up or stock is down after some of these? Like, are you more interested in watching A Quiet Place Day One after the trailer?
Oh, yeah. Okay, let's play that game. And
Cool.
let's get everything out of the way about what you thought about the trailers, because they can be split into 3 parts. You have your celebrities doing food, the miscellaneous ones, and the movies. We really care about the movies. So anything
Right.
unmovie related that stood out to you?
Anything unmovie related? I mean,
And just overall,
obviously
the trailers up or down?
the Jesus ads and the Scientology ad always
What were your
stand out.
favorite? Yeah, of course.
The more AI generated, the more it stood out to me this year. There's that one in particular that was like a bunch of pictures of what looked like houseless people, and
Yeah.
then Jesus. Obviously, I
Jesus.
not really sure what point they think they're making there.
Jesus gets them. He had them homeless for the commercial.
My favorite of the celebrity driven commercials is probably got to be the Michael Cera V commercial.
Okay, yes, that one's decent. I thought you were gonna say Dunkin' Donuts, and we would have had a problem.
I enjoyed it. I don't think it's like the best commercial, but they got Matt and Ben. It's
You
I'm gonna have
No,
fun
you
with
don't
it.
start this live stream bashing Lisa Frankenstein coming in talking about Ben Affleck's Dunkin' Donuts commercial being the
Well, see,
highlight.
that one is short. Lisa Frankenstein is over an hour and a half. It's
That
almost
felt really long. No, I had Tom Brady appearing in this ad. Randomly, they're pitching me donuts, and then the next thing I know, it's an ad for Jennifer Lopez's crappy movie.
If somebody wants to send me one of those Dunkin' Donuts jumpsuits, I will wear it on an Intercut episode.
Bro. How about them donuts?
Yeah, but
Rough.
he apologized for the line as he said it, so he knew it was bad.
The Mark Wahlberg Lent ad should not be higher than the Dunkin' Donuts ad. You know who I'm gonna give? Aubrey Plaza getting Baja blasted. I thought that was funny.
Yeah, she's having a blast out there. I thought it was funny when they brought in Nick Offerman. Do you like the M&M's Ring of Almost Champions one? I thought that was also kind of funny.
Was that the one where ScarJo didn't get the Oscar thingy?
Yeah. She lost 2 Oscars.
Yeah, that was cute. Yeah, that was cute. I don't know why she felt the need to tell people that, but okay, sure.
I mean, did you
Cool.
did you know before yesterday?
I did. Oh no, you're forgetting. I didn't care. There's a complete difference. I know she ran. I didn't think we were supposed to care. I thought that was cute to make that a thing. Quinta doing taxes.
I mean, get that money, I guess. You know, I personally don't want to take ads from TurboTax, but if they called calling, I probably would.
Hey, for sure. Squarespace having Martin Scorsese, that was surprising. It's like, where did this come from?
Yeah, I mean, I doubt Scorsese's been anywhere near Squarespace, let alone like web design in his life.
Yeah. Beyonce doing the Verizon ad, actually creating something for every single one of her spots. So like when she was the gamer, she actually created that on Twitch.
Yeah.
She actually did all of them. And then she announced the country album. What do you think about that?
I mean, I personally don't like
Hate Beyonce.
No, I personally don't like the use of the kind of like commercial spot to then launch your own personal project. Like it feels
Really?
Yeah,
Why?
I don't know. I feel like it's a little bit like church and state, like promote yourself or promote the product. Don't do both.
So you didn't like Taylor winning the Grammy and then going, I got my dead poets, whatever the heck?
Super tacky.
I'm not disagreeing.
Yeah. At least the Beyonce ad had like
I'm
good
looking forward to
production
the album.
design and Tony Hale. I don't know.
Tony Hale was good, right? Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
Uber Eats Addison ad, I did not care for, but I found out there was controversy after the fact in where there's actually an alternate version. You heard about this?
Peanut butter.
For the peanut butter
controversy.
Look, I think they should have stuck with the original ad, but that swish that they made when they stuck the chair up that guy's butt did actually.
Yeah, cute ad.
Too many homes.com. They had apartments.com for the last like 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
Clearly, homes.com owns the exact same thing. They all want us to get a home now. I'm not buying it. Big home, stop with the ads. It was too many of them. The only thing that made it more annoying than that, besides, I'm sorry, but your Scrubs guys they got me up to here now. 6 Temu ads?
Yeah, and the same one, right? Like it. I don't know, man. They're really pushing that. I do not feel like a billionaire when I'm on Temu. I'll say that much. I feel pretty cheap.
Last miscellaneous one will be. I'm curious to know if you got the Kanye one. Did you get a yay ad?
I don't remember, so probably not.
We got a 30-second bit, which was technically the video he's got with North for the album he just dropped. I don't know if you saw. He like just dropped a completely new track list for.
Did you just purchase a local Chicago ad?
I heard he purchased a Chicago and Miami ad, where the ad was the music video, 30 seconds of his daughter singing because he told her, I'm going to get you on TV. And it's going to be your song that I push. Then it turns out that there's another 30-second ad. This is big, bro. Listen to me. There's another 30-second ad where he's just recording himself. And this supposedly got played in other places outside of Chicago. Because I didn't see this in the broadcast. Where he just goes, so we spent all the money on the commercial. So we didn't have enough to actually make the commercial. So go to yeezy.com and go buy this stuff. And that's it. It's an actual ad. You can go find it.
That's
I went to
yeezy.com out of like season 2 of 30 Rock, Tracy Jordan. Like, what is he doing?
I say all this to say, Zach, them Yeezy pods that were $200, he put them for $20. That's what the ad was for. So if any of you want some Yeezy pods, they're $20 right now instead of $200. I don't think he let anybody know that. So he actually had a sale yesterday with all the things that were happening around the world. Kind of had 2 ads. But let's get into the important stuff, which is going through all of the trailers. And my preface for this would be, I think they were mid.
Well,
I don't think we
so
got anything that blew us out of the water. But
yeah,
a big part of it was, do you get tired of? And here is the teaser because we're only paying 30 seconds worth. Go watch
that's
it online.
That's the thing. And my number one
Homework.
reaction to movie trailers in general at the Super Bowl is like, when did these companies get so cheap? When did they get so chintzy? Like, this is supposed to be your big announcement moment. Yes, I know it's $7 million to get 30 seconds of airtime. This is the big ad. You have to, don't tell me to go watch the trailer online. You're showing it to me right now. Show
You
it.
know what the name of the game is, right? Like,
Yeah.
this is where we're supposed to talk. And then you find out that, like, wait, okay, so you got a 3-minute ad. Got it. You got to cut
Yeah.
it down to 30 seconds. Why did you show like the least interesting parts of the ad?
Right, just the incomprehensible flashes of different people. Like, you can cut a good 30-second teaser. There were some last night.
Yeah. So 15 movies, and I had to go to www.15 different sites. It's like when we go to festivals and they're like, oh yeah, you're watching all 88 movies. When you get time for us, it's like, no, give them the ad. Stop giving people homework. Okay. With that out of the way, now let's rate these ads. It did get a little annoying. First one that we have here is the one that I had kind of displayed right here. It was the Quiet Place ad. Again, I find it hilarious that this is the third one and it has one in the title.
But see, it's the earliest one chronologically, so it kind of makes sense. It's day one.
Shut up, bro. I like it. I think Lupita's cool. She don't take misses. Nope. It looks like Cloverfield.
It does look a little like Cloverfield.
Looks like Cloverfield.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, I'm sure you do. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Lupita,
oh my goodness,
doesn't get a real reputation for it, but she's developing a bit of like a scream queen kind of career between Us and Little Monsters.
You couldn't even scream in that one.
Yeah, exactly. Not gonna be able to scream in this one either, it sounds like.
These are the loudest movies.
I think it looks decently entertaining. I'm not somebody who's like very invested in the larger Quiet Place scareverse or whatever, but like you, I think maybe even taking the action back so society is not quite as stripped down as it is in the Quiet Place movies, and you get a little bit more bombast and you get a little bit more action, will liven it up a little bit. So it looks pretty cool. I'd say I was more interested in it after seeing the trailer than before.
June 28th. I think that's been the best date that they've gotten for these movies, so they're moving on up. Despicable Me 4 surprised everybody with
artificial intelligence,
a joke that technically is always used on them, that they only use AI. And look at the Minions come out and actually get everybody on their side when it came to making a trailer that, in a sense, is making fun of all of these AR images. They do all the funny things, like things not connecting, multiple limbs. My favorite part, after they zoom out and then you see all the Minions laughing, is just the way that they did the titles. Genius. Genius stuff. I've seen a lot of people now respecting Illumination, and as you know, I've been a Minion aficionado for a minute now. I did not even realize I learned something new. I didn't realize that they had memes. Illumination was putting out mini Gru stuff for 2022's Rise of Gru movie. Illumination funded images telling you how to steal NFTs to right click. I didn't realize that they gained a massive fan base from people going, yo, I didn't know Illumination was about that.
Yeah, I didn't know.
So now them making fun of AI here, like they are consistent through and through. So I'm glad that people are now coming around to the are now illuminated to the Minions artistry. Because what is this, the 7th, 8th one? We have a lot of Minions movies. Are you excited for it?
I mean, I'm not a Minions person, so my level of excitement was pretty much like basement level to start out with. But I thought that trailer was pretty cute, so I'll say stock up on it.
That's all we can ask for, right? As long as you're like mid right there, that's really all we care for. Fall Guy was going to be playing at South by Southwest as one of the first movies that's opening up there. So much so that this man has like literally cried about how this movie's changed his life after an Oscar nomination and being a stuntman. He finally gets his dream of climbing the Warner Brothers water tower. You heard about this?
Yeah, I mean, they said he said they wouldn't let him do it after La La Land or something.
Which I don't know why.
meet the Animaniacs that badly, but okay.
Yeah, I never knew that was like a part of the thing that you were supposed to get after La La
Right?
Land. But now that he's playing a full action guy in The Fall Guy, I don't think any of the trailers have convinced me anymore. I've just been mildly interested in this one. It's not like head over heels for it. I know you weren't a big fan of David Leitch's Last Train movie, or I
Yeah.
think a lot of his action movies so much so. But I feel like the banter between the two of them as leads with Ryan Gosling and
Emily Blunt.
thank you.
Mrs. Krasinski.
That's what I'm paying for opening night. So I'm going
Yeah,
mildly positive.
I'm gonna go mildly negative just because I think it's a style
Ooh.
of like winky action comedy that I'm very tired of.
Okay.
It's sort of, to me, it feels like they're doing Deadpool, but not as crazy. You know, like I'm a little tired of that style of humor, I think.
Fair. Are you tired of a fourth Kung Fu Panda movie?
I don't have the like strong emotional attachment to this franchise that I think a lot of people in our general age range do. I don't even know if I've seen the second one. I saw the third on assignment and don't think I reviewed it positively. So no,
Oh,
I mean I like Jack Black a lot, but I'm not high on this, and the trailers haven't convinced me.
I like the Kung Fu Panda movies. Every time I watch one, I go, you know what? These are a little bit more decent than they need to be. I think the voice acting is really funny. I'm excited for 4. I'm looking forward to revisiting the other ones. I'm gonna go positive for Kung Fu Panda 4. Deadpool and Wolverine.
Mhm.
Is this the name of the movie?
Yeah, at least right now they apparently copywrote 4 names: Deadpool 3, Deadpool and Friend, Deadpool and Friends, and Deadpool and Wolverine, but they've so far at least gone with Deadpool and Wolverine.
Wow. Okay, up or down. I'm because for me, I'd be on assignment going to go see this. It's the third one. I have to. It's
Yeah.
Wolverine coming back. None of the trailers have done anything for me, and I personally am getting tired of getting the whole movie leaked. That I feel I know everything for a project that I'm already not looking forward to Sean Levy directing.
Yeah. This is another one where my anticipation level is like bottom for sure. I'm just never really.
Bottom. Oh,
Yeah, I'm like not into. I mean, the first Deadpool I enjoyed. The second one I had thought there was some fun jokes in it, but I was really growing tired of it. And I just think that Ryan Reynolds' like omnipresence is grating on me in a way where I'm so not looking forward to this movie at all. I
mm,
thought the trailer was fine, like it looks
okay.
like a movie, and maybe even looks more like a movie than the last couple Marvel projects we've had to see. So I'd say like maybe I'm a little bit stock up, but part of it is because my anticipation has been so low going into this trailer.
Gotcha. So you'd say Ryan Reynolds is like your Taylor, like when the NFL people see her pop out. Which also I did a counter, bro. She got like a dozen cuts. People have been talking about like, hey, it's not that much. It's only like 2 or 3. Not yesterday, bro. They went all out.
Yeah,
Um,
and long shots too, especially
wow.
after they won the Super Bowl, just like
Yeah,
hanging on them.
just hanging on that right there. They're waiting for
Yeah.
a proposal or something. But keeping it going, we have what is easily, I think, my most anticipated one. Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes also got a trailer, and it just looks fantastic. I thought the teaser was really good, but this was also another one where, look, my number one, but y'all got to actually put the story out there. That 30 seconds did not tell me anything.
That's the thing, and at this point, like, I don't know if it really increased my hype at all because I don't know what we're getting. Like, yeah, it's
True.
more apes, cool,
Yeah, the trailer didn't do it. I'm just naturally a fan of the franchise.
right?
When this
Exactly.
played, my
So
brother was like, "There's another one," and I'm like, "Yeah, but I heard this takes place." I'm doing the math over here for him. 100 years later, he goes, "But so where's Caesar?" I was like, "No, it's 100 years. Like Caesar's gone." And I'm like, "No, the trailer needs to be doing this for
right,
people, not me." Um,
exactly. So I'm
but
I'm up on the movie, but down on the trailer.
I feel you. I think they could have marketed it a bit better, but damn, it looks good, dude. I didn't even
Yeah.
realize there was still going to be humans in this. It looks just as clean as they've done with the other ones. I'm fully excited. Do we got a date on this yet? Because I know they've been saying
Ooh, I don't know.
tentative. I feel like it's gonna be an August date, but we'll see. Maybe even November. But I feel like that would be very late for something like Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes.
It says May 10th according to Google, but I don't know if that is
Whoa. Okay. Forget
correct.
everything I said.
Yeah.
I'll take it. I will take it. All right. The next one, Wicked.
The long anticipated adaptation. And it's Wicked Part 1, we should mention.
I ain't never seen the play, so you tell me.
I just am tired of movies that look like this. Just like these like fake mystical worlds that are super digital and plastic and lit kind of oddly with that weird sheen. It's just, I don't know, visually doing absolutely nothing for me, which should not be the case for a Wicked movie. It's the opportunity to like build amazing
The whole
sets.
point, right?
Yeah, right. Like,
Didn't they rebuild the theater in New York to just be Wicked inspired?
exactly, right? Like if you're transferring this from the stage to the movie, give me some spectacle, and I'm not really
Right?
feeling any spectacle. It's a musical. I'm not hearing any musical numbers in
We don't
this
do that no more
trailer.
in ads. You know that. You know that. You know that. It's a
I
secret.
just, yeah, I mean, all it is really like a first look at like, this is the makeup for Ariana Grande, and this is the
Sure.
makeup for Cynthia Erivo, and this is the makeup for Michelle Yeoh, and
And
it
here are
all
the memes
looks,
you can get out of it.
yeah, it looks competent. I wouldn't say I'm excited by it.
Bro, 2013 was Oz the Great and Powerful.
Yeah,
How's it look worse than Oz
right.
the Great and Powerful? Like,
Well, 'cause
that
it's
wasn't a good looking movie.
because it's not, it was Raimi, right? Like, it's not Raimi, it's John Chu, and like, John Chu makes some good movies, but the things about
What
them that
is
excel are not the visuals.
Wasn't this the same set that they had in Miss Marvel when they went into that dancing colony where they all
It
just like
looks
saying,
like it,
right?
right? Maybe
They
Disney
all
doubled
look
down.
the same, bro. I don't know. This is annoying, but I agree that if you have such a big play that has a different performance every night, it's unique, and you're now doing this big push to a medium where you get one shot, one recording of this thing, and this is it.
Mm.
Cynthia Erivo deserves better. I have loved all the memes dealing with Ariana freaking out, and it's the shot of her boyfriend. Funny stuff, dude.
Yeah. I'll also say,
yeah,
like,
I'm down on the trailer.
I'm not super familiar with the play. I saw it a long
Oh,
time
okay.
ago. But
Because I had a
I'm
question.
seeing a lot of people really being skeptical because if this is the stuff that's in part 1, there's not a whole lot of like
That's what I heard.
story left for part 2.
Her part 2 is the bad part.
Yeah,
So it's
it
like, why
also
would you
is,
isolate it?
yeah, so to be
Okay.
determined, but could be proceed with caution territory.
Yeah. So I don't know. We're 3D glasses. Maybe something will pop if you watch it again.
Yeah.
Let's move into the most surprising one, because this was one that came up in our most anticipated list. You had given this a
Mhm.
mention. I knew this was on the horizon. Had to put it on
Mhm.
my top 10 because why this director? Why this cast? Why a
Why?
sequel to Twister? Hey,
20
remember that
years
joke
later?
we said? Remember that joke we said about Twisters with the money symbol? Everybody loved that one yesterday. We had
Yep.
that one early. And this is a top pick for me. This is top 5. We're a Twister household here. I'm excited to have Twisters playing on TNT in my soon to be HBO packet. What's the app called that I'm gonna get now?
They haven't announced yet. We'll call it
For my sport,
Max
my
Plus
future
Plus.
sports package will come with TNT and Twisters, dude.
Yeah.
This looks like, I don't know, like a throwback summer blockbuster.
Yeah. This
I think
is
it's
the
gonna be
good stuff.
raw.
I am up on this trailer. I am not as like invested in the Twister
Twister lore?
franchise as it
I don't
sounds
think
like
there's
you
like a
are, but it just looks fun. It looks good. Glenn Powell is really leaning into the thing that I think makes people really excited about his potential as a movie star. He just
What a
looks
year.
like he's gonna have a fun time in this movie. It's got a good cast. It's got just, it feels really down to earth for a movie that I'm sure is using a lot of digital effects. Like, it doesn't feel even as digital as like Wicked does. I don't know, man. I'm really excited for this one. I didn't anticipate this would be my favorite trailer. I think this was my favorite trailer.
I told you, dude. You take the time to work on something, and I think it was right before Top Gun when you had the idea of like enough time has stirred for this to be something.
Mm-hmm.
I think enough time has stirred. We haven't really had that disaster movie.
No. I mean, what's the last great one? I know a lot of people like 2012. I don't know if that's a great one.
Bruh, does that even count? You know, Day After Tomorrow is way too old.
Probably like a classic, but yeah,
and it's way too far out. Greenland was during, not a lot of people saw that one. Like, we have not had that big movie. We're not even counting Moonfall because that don't count.
Roland Emmerich, where are you at?
No, absolutely not. I am excited for this one. Definitely top of the list. Twisters. Keep an eye out for this one.
Yeah, I mean, when we were at Sundance, you did lean over to me and whisper like, "This guy's going to make a killer Twisters movie." watching
100%.
Minari.
For the first time, not even knowing who the director was.
Yeah.
I thought it was funny that they did this joke for If.
I think it would have been funny if they did it 5 years ago. The John
not a fan?
Krasinski as Randall
Or
Park
Randall
joke.
Park as John Krasinski from The
Yeah,
Office.
yeah. I get it.
Not a fan of this movie.
Everybody
then.
watched The Office. I'm not anticipating it, but at the same point, like it is a children's movie, so I'm not starting
Has
to
it got Ryan?
for If. And it's got
Mhm.
Ryan, man. Like he's doing nothing for me in movies right now, and it's a shame because he's like a charismatic, great actor, but he's
Kinda.
found his kind of niche with this Deadpool snarkiness, and that's all he does now.
If he does something different, then you'll be back. As of now, your stock is done.
Way out.
Okay. Hey, he needed something for his kids, and I will tell you, one of my least favorite things is making something like A Quiet Place and then going, I never made something for my kids. I hate those follow-ups from directors.
Yeah, they're always bad. They're always
Oh,
bad.
so I am glad that this next pick is not that. We are catching it at South by Southwest. That
Let's
last
go.
freaking drop of movies for South by Southwest had me salivating. And knowing that this was just announced 2 days prior to the schedule, that Monkey Man from director, and I had completely forgotten about this. I think they had worked at some point, or I think it was Daniel Kaluuya was friends with who's his name? Patel. I'm blinking on his first name.
Dev
His
Patel.
directorial debut. Dev Patel's directorial debut. And it's going to be produced by Jordan Peele. This was when we had discussed last year that there was going to be 2 Jordan Peele projects. I'm assuming this would have been the one that was not going to be directed by him. As you sadly notified me, they may have taken the Peele one off of the schedule.
Yeah.
I am curious. I don't know if I'm fully all in yet, but I'm hoping he's got a good directing hand now that he's going from being an actor turned director, which we just got with The Kitchen, another person from Skins, and Daniel Kaluuya going from actor turned director. Now you have 2 people who are really close to Jordan Peele, one of the best actors turned directors.
Mm-hmm.
Top 10 out of South Bay, maybe.
I think so. I think it's got a shot. I would say that the trailer definitely increased my anticipation for this one. I mean, I was definitely excited to see whatever it is that Dev Patel wanted to do for his like big screen directing debut, but this looks pretty badass. And you know, we've seen a lot of trailers that maybe look badass and then don't land quite as hard as they hit in the trailer, but I'm gonna be there for sure. You know, this is jumped to my most anticipated from South by because it just looks electric. It looks really visceral.
You're not concerned with him doing a directorial debut, and I'm assuming feature debut. He may have done other stuff, and he's in it.
No, I mean,
and it's action.
I think that a lot of times they're, you know, you surround yourself with the right type of people, hopefully, and it doesn't really. Good. Yeah, so you know, I'm sure they've made accommodations for this. We'll see. I don't know.
We're both high though.
The cosign from Jordan Peele is an encouraging sign too. The fact that Netflix didn't want to release it apparently because they were concerned about the portrayal of the Indian government in the film also weirdly makes me more excited for it.
Yeah, because we literally just said that Netflix doesn't care about anything.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
I did not read up on that. I'm gonna have to look into that. Okay. Yep. Monkey Man. I don't know if we have a date for this, but it will be premiering at South by April 5th. So right after the South by premiere, whatever reactions we will be giving to you to see if you should have it on your radar. But as of right now, I'm anticipating it. You were talking about accommodations that were made, but they were not made for this movie, as you told me. Pixar is returning with less voice actors for a movie that is literally all about the voice actors because they play literal emotions. I know you like Inside Out 1, right?
I actually don't like Inside Out 1.
Oh, you don't like Inside Out 1?
Yeah, I feel like I'm the weirdo that I'm negative on that movie.
Really?
Yeah, shout out Richard Brody. He's got a great review.
What don't you like about Inside Out that you feel is doubling down, or that's going to be even worse now that they're making a sequel that you think they're going to double down on?
I mean, look, I don't want to be like the super negative person out here on Inside Out because I think that there are people for whom that movie is really important and that movie is really valuable. I've talked to social workers and therapists who find that movie really useful as a tool. So like it's cool that movie exists.
Say your truth.
Artistically, I feel like it's a gross oversimplification of like how the human brain works in a way that feels completely alien to my experience having one. Feel like the chaos and just discomfort of dealing with your thoughts is like uh so not represented in the like tidy approach to different types of emotions and stuff like that. I don't know, like to me it like it reduces down what is so unknowable and complex in a way that I almost find offensive. As I mentioned, the Richard Brody review from the New Yorker is like a classic and articulates a lot of the stuff better than I'm capable of. But yeah, I mean, I just did when my experience of childhood is looking around and being like, I don't understand any of this shit and it's all scary. And it's just not what Pete Docter had in mind.
Orion, you don't think kind of did that?
Yeah, no, Orion's my version of Inside Out.
So you don't think that the sequel, because it's now getting into those emotions?
No, because it's still just these like kind of jokey characters, and I don't know, and it's still the tidiness of it is what I don't like. I think even separating different colors into different emotions into different colors kind of simplifies it in a way that takes away from kind of the thing that's exciting about the human mind is that things are
Yeah.
like these weird mixes of different
Why don't you think?
emotions and feelings
Whoa,
and experiences.
hey, that is the ending to Inside Out, bro. The mixing of
Yeah,
different
yeah,
things. Eh.
it is, but it's not the way they represent it for the vast majority of that movie.
Why do you give a pass to Orion, simplifying them down into emotions?
Well, I think the parts of Orion I like best are not those parts, and
The be-
also
also,
because
like
they're
me, the beginning. Yeah.
yeah, and it's also there because it's not reducing them into emotions; it's reducing them into like representative figures for like abstract ideas. Like the
Okay.
dark isn't an emotion. Unexplained noises aren't an emotion.
Mhm. Well, you convinced me none of us would be watching Inside Out 2. We are ignoring it from the
I don't know,
podcast. We are
man.
boycotting it. It's over. It is done.
Maybe it'll be good.
We'll see. I know, because now they're dealing with teenagers, and it's like I've already seen all of the inappropriate YouTube trailers that they made for a follow-up to Inside Out 2. They're not going to cover anything that they need to, right? Because
No.
at this point, you're seeking out a Turning Red. They already made that movie.
Mhm.
So go, if you want Inside Out 2, it's called Turning Red. And it's actually going to be out in theaters again.
Yeah.
Moving from there, you had a mention here of Moana, which
Yeah, this
I don't think I saw the trailer, but I saw the announcement.
Yeah, this did not play during the Super Bowl, and the trailer is like really not much of anything. It's some
Gotcha.
seascapes and like not even necessarily worth watching. But I did want to bring it up here because they announced Moana 2 coming to theaters this year in November. If Disney's not going to get
Bruh.
Marvel movies, they're going to find
That was
something to
massive.
fill those slots. But it also came with, I think, a lot of people talking about their reservations about the movie because it
Yes.
seems like this is the previously announced and then canceled Moana TV show getting reworked into a theatrically released movie. So does the idea of it being the remnants of the scrapped Moana TV show make you less excited for the idea of a Moana 2?
Not necessarily, but to clear up, this isn't the live action one where The Rock said, "Hi, I'm unemployed because of DC. I'm gonna do this live action one," right?
No, although
Completely separate.
considering the timeline, we might get a trailer for the live action Moana during Moana 2.
Sick. I'm not against the idea of them taking what was already a show to that. If anything, it makes me go like, oh, okay, so they were working on something. This didn't come out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Because we've seen in the 90s, that was a lot of their stuff. Their B teams were working on straight to, what was it, VHS, and it ends up becoming The Lion King. It ends up becoming, some of their best stuff. So I'm not that against it. Sometimes I think that those are the animators and storytellers working the hardest. I heard no Lin-Manuel.
No Lin-Manuel, yeah.
And now y'all making me sound like I've been complaining about Pedro Pascal and everything until I get to like something that he should be in, and I'm like, no, you need him in there. I complain about oversaturation of Lin-Manuel. I'm sorry, but I don't want a Hamilton 2 without Lin-Manuel, and I don't want a Moana 2 without Lin-Manuel.
Exactly. Right? Like Lin-Manuel is probably like overused at this point, but
what?
he's kind of the best elements of the first Moana movie.
Bruh, I don't even get
Yeah.
that one right there. So, okay. Moana 2, it is out. Let us know your thoughts on that over there. Other than that, you have other commercials here, the Dunkings, M&Ms. What was the NFL Sunday ticket?
Oh, I kind of liked the NFL Sunday Ticket Evolution ad where the Ravens were Ravens and the Seahawks and Eagles were all flying around. Do you see
I
that
went to
one?
the bathroom. I just saw him flying. I'm like, I'm good. This is not a real ad for me. This is not a trailer. I saw it said Sunday ticket. I'm like, that's okay. I'm waiting for a new app this fall. I'm okay. I'll reserve it. Jen Ortega Doritos. Don't remember seeing this one.
Yeah, I saw it in the lead up to the Super Bowl. People were talking about it, and I don't remember seeing it all during the
Yeah.
telecast.
It's just they're going, huh? I think there's a longer version of it. I haven't
Yeah.
even seen this one. I just saw the shorter version of it. But I will say, looking at her here, I know we said Aubrey Plaza and what's her name look alike. Aubrey Plaza looked a lot like her in the Baja Blast commercial. And I
Yeah,
know that may be blasphemous for people to hear since obviously Aubrey was here first. But I don't know. There's something about the bangs that made her look more like a less Parks and Rec and more of a Wednesday.
they're just evolving into the same person until
The
they can
same
play
person.
doppelgangers in a movie one day.
My old ass too. But that is our trailers for the Super Bowl. Let us know the ones that stood out to you. We are going to move on to our last two little bits here before we shout out the most important people on the podcast. But our last two deal with the new Oscar category, in where I'm going to let Zach take it away because
Yeah.
this is new to me and it's new to them
Yeah.
too. It's not coming till 2026.
The Oscars announced that it will be adding a new category, as you mentioned, in 2026. It's the first time they're announcing a new category since Best Animated Feature was added in 2001, 25 years between them. This new category, though, will go to the achievement in outstanding casting direction and honoring the casting directors who do have their own branch in the Academy since 2013. Now they will have their own award. Arturo, do you think this
Wow.
is a smart award to add to the Oscars?
Yeah, I don't think it's bad at all. I think I would also like an ensemble one.
Yeah, I think that
We have discussed sometimes it goes.
Yeah, I think a lot of
Right,
people
'cause the
are
ensemble.
talking about this sort of being a de facto ensemble award. That if you are a fan of the ensemble, then you are sort of saying the casting director did a good job. So it is a chance to kind of award a film where it's like, oh, we like a lot of these people without actually
Yeah.
awarding all of those people.
And who did the magic? Who was the chef who realized all
Right.
these ingredients were going to work together and they award her? I still like it going to Best Ensemble as well.
Yeah.
But I think this is, I am all for this. I am never against more awards. I am never against more nominations, as we've been discussing leading up to this year's Oscars. And obviously, there's a lot more other categories that we want.
Yeah.
I do have one.
Well, that's the thing is a lot of people's reaction to this was, all right, we'll add the stunts category next.
For sure.
I have, it is, you go first.
Hit me first, because mine's a negative. I'll be devil's advocate after.
So the one major difference that I saw proposed between why this might have been added and stunts might not yet have been added is that this category is more likely to nominate the films that are already getting Oscar nominations. So you look at a film like Oppenheimer, and we were talking about how it was one shy of getting the tying the record 14 nominations. You get a casting award in there, it probably would have gotten those 14 nominations.
Damn. That's an ugly way to put it. So then let me keep on with the ugliness and play devil's advocate here. Full on hater. I'm looking at everyone in Hollywood, everyone on the list, above the line, below the line. Casting directors are the worst. Think of every person who wants to see a celebrity. You have people who interview celebrities and think that they're friends with these celebrities. Nothing's funnier than an interviewer going, "Oh, I'll see you again." They don't care about you, bro. It's work. It's work. You are not friends with these people. Now imagine a casting director who damn near has the individual who everyone wants an autograph from coming in to beg for an audition. Now we're going to give those people an award? I don't know about that, bro. That's just my hot water one. If I think there's any more pompous person in Hollywood, damn, is it not a casting director? They're casting directors. Literally, it should be casting director, in parentheses, gatekeeper.
Yeah, I mean, it's a heartbreaker for sure. Although, like, in a lot of ways, they're responsible for many of the things that we love about movies. And
the actors
love a well-cast film.
I do like them, yeah. I'm just being mean to the casting directors out there, but it is interesting to see this being used as like just another way to break a record and then not really thank the ensemble
sure.
with it, because
Yeah,
there's
I
a
mean,
lot of moving parts. This should still be a category though.
yeah. I mean, you look at also the Oscars telecast up until very recently had 24 awards, and then they combined the best sound editing and sound mixing into one greater category. So we're going back to what was the standard for quite a while in 24 categories. But I
No
agree
acting
with
awards.
you. We could use more. I mean, well, that's the other thing is
No,
this
no
is
supporting, no
almost
lead, no casting, no ensemble. Just
you
vibes.
just want
Like
yeah,
who
just
acted
best
just like
vibes.
who acted the best, bro?
Yeah.
Energy was coming from over there.
Yeah. Who would you give best casting to this year if you had a choice?
Best casting, because it's really fresh in my mind. I thought that the way that they were able to cast the young to the old in The Color Purple was fantastic. Fantasia's younger self to her older self, even what they did with Bailey turning into Sierra. I do agree with you. Oppenheimer definitely needs to be in that bunch. I don't know if it's too small of a cast to include May December, but the way that they worked off of each other, that's usually what I look at. I'm
I
not even
mean,
gonna
the
lie.
kids.
I'll throw a Hail Mary pick over here for a movie I know you like. I think the way that we talk about movies like Short Term 12 and how all of those actors end up becoming really big later, the movie of last year that did that was your favorite How to Blow Up a Pipeline. You
Yeah.
had various different performances and a variation of people coming together to get this thing done in the script. And I think the casting of that, and also that story that we brought up about how he duped everybody to be in the movie, I think that's an interesting one. What do you got?
I'll throw out some love for Bottoms, like a great collection of young talent in that movie. Like you were saying, the idea of cast that will then go on to do a lot of big things.
Mhm.
We're already seeing some of that with Bottoms.
No, you
Poor
got the awards
Things is
before they even got the nomination.
yeah. Poor Things is another one that has
Good.
just so many people we love and uses a lot of those people that we love in ways that we're not used to seeing them. But the one that stands out to me is obviously Oppenheimer. I mean, that's a movie that right down to like its one scene roles is filled with wonderful actors who fit the part perfectly.
Killers of the Flower Moon using country stars in
That's
like the
true.
craziest way possible, right?
So here's another question for
That's a good
you
one.
then. Do you think that this award should skew towards the movies like Oppenheimer that are more focused on getting these like big stars that we recognize into the perfect parts, or do you appreciate a little bit more of like the Killers of the Flower Moon approach, or like the Sean Baker approach where they're going to cast some non-professionals, some people who aren't necessarily actors first that are just like the right fit for these parts?
Hey, you can go either way, right? VFX is that who
Right.
has most or who has best?
Yeah.
Really just depends on who did the better project. And you're bringing up two examples where, yeah, the country stars to Casey Affleck, Matt Damon playing these pivotal parts in here. They're so equal to me because these are two of the best movies of the year that we had tied as our like top three.
Yeah.
It can go either way, but that would be interesting as you're saying that people can be using this to just rack up more nominations. When does it start becoming like the VFX category where Oppenheimer didn't get nominated this year because we stuck to it being one specific thing and that was computer generated? When does casting then become a stereotype of, oh, they're only going to go for these big ensemble movies? Never trust casting the little guys. They're always going to go for the big guys. We're years away from this even beginning before we get the trend of how they're going to run the category.
Right. It'd be very
So,
interesting to see how they implement this, and I'm
can't
not
wait
sure
to
why
see how
they're
they screw it
waiting
up.
so long to implement this, but
They got to make the title card.
yeah, it takes a lot of years.
You know,
They got to figure out the little 5-second animation that plays during the broadcast. It's
boy,
not easy
implement
stuff.
it this year already. Like
Yeah.
how bad are we? That's going to take till 2026. That's funny.
Speaking
That's
of
real funny.
Oppenheimer, though, the Oppenheimer filmmaker Christopher Nolan had some comments recently that I thought were interesting on the Countdown to the BAFTAs podcast, where he said he thinks we're entering a post-intellectual property era for blockbuster filmmaking. He said, I think the success of Oppenheimer certainly points to a sort of post-franchise, post-intellectual property landscape for movies. It's kind of encouraging. Oppenheimer ended 2023 as the third highest grossing film in the US, behind the Super Mario Bros. Movie and Barbie. This is the first time in a long time that none of the top three highest grossing movies in a year were sequels, prequels, or spin-offs. Art, just a really quick bit of trivia for you. When do you think is the last time that the top three films in a year were none of those three things?
And we're not counting like Transformers starting.
No, it can be the start of a franchise, but it can't be the sequel to the start.
Oh, one.
That's a great call. 01. It was the last time that the top 3 movies at the box office were all non-sequels, although those 3 films were sorry, it's pulling up. Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, The Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the King, and Monsters Inc. and Shrek. So movies that ended up getting sequels anyway, but still, at the time, they were
at
original.
the time they were. Two
Yeah,
things.
yeah.
One, that is kind of funny that they all ended up just becoming that, and we're at the same point now where we have originals, but when Barbie gets a second one, what are we going to count it, right? We're all touting Super Mario Bros. Well, what happens when that gets a sequel? 2, you had it linked there, so don't thank me, bro. It was pretty easy.
I was hoping you'd wait to click it, but
that's a long time.
Yeah, I mean, look, we're
Damn.
probably getting a sequel to Super Mario Bros. We're probably getting a spin-off at least from Barbie, if not a sequel at some point.
Oppenheimer 2 JFK? Yeah, that's ridiculous. Like, I don't know. Is it bad for me to say that after complaining all these times, we're like, oh, the franchise. Now it's clear. Can I now give a new spin after being so grim about these franchises, and now the fog is cleared? Maybe there have been really big movies every other time. If we're going back to 2001 and you're showing me 5 things that all, bruh, tell me which one of these doesn't have a number 5. Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings,
You got
Monsters
Pearl
Inc.
Harbor at
1,
number 6.
2, right? Because it's Monsters
Even
Inc.
Ocean's
University
11
and the show.
Even Ocean's 11 has got 2 sequels,
on
a
the 5th one,
spin-off, and a prequel on the way.
Yeah. So it really is just Pearl Harbor.
Yeah.
Wow. Rough times. I'm just saying that I think every year there is always something new, but we always are on this fear game. But I think just making it the way that he made his, it's now out there, right? I am excited to go revisit Tenet this upcoming week with the re-release because you and I never had the chance to go see that in theaters, much less IMAX, right? I got a big trip to go see Tenet and Dune 2. I think they've always been there. It's just about what you decide to focus on, right? Like we could focus this entire podcast on the things we don't like, or we could focus on the things we do like. For example, a lot of the movies that we covered for Sundance, 2 stars for you, right? Because we focus on all the good ones already. I think many times we've had every conversation with a Nolan, with a Scorsese be about Marvel. It's what you were saying. You made yourself have that be the focus. And I think the more that we steer the different way, right? If we consider Netflix documentaries to be prestige documentaries, then that's all it takes to believe that they are. Him making Oppenheimer, I think, is all we needed to showcase that a movie like this can make that money. But I think we're in a moment where in 2001, all of those became something else. And I do feel like we're praising Oppenheimer. Why are we including Barbie and Super Mario in that success?
I mean, on the one hand, yeah, they are movies that are heavily based on pre-existing intellectual property, and they are taking advantage of their brand recognition in order to launch themselves to great box office success. On the other hand, they're not sequels, and they are chances for filmmakers to try a new thing. And obviously it worked a lot better for me in Barbie than it did in the Super Mario Bros. Movie. But I think there, to speak to his point specifically about the idea of intellectual property not being as powerful as maybe it was recently, I could see some of that, because I do think we've seen a hunger for these films from these like tourist filmmakers, whether it is the interest in Killers of the Flower Moon, or even the hype around stuff like Napoleon and Ferrari. Like, yeah, it's not necessarily going to beat Super Mario Bros. At the box office, but I do think there is an uptick, at least, of interest in these non-franchise related films that are coming from these established filmmakers. People wanted to see Barbie because they want to see a Barbie movie, but also a lot of people want to see it because they want to see a new Greta Gerwig movie.
True. I forget, Oppenheimer, is it adapted or is it original?
It's adapted off of the biography. But it's not. There's a big difference between a New York Times bestseller and
I know. I'm
most
just
popular
asking
video game character.
I'm just asking questions, bro. But I heard someone try to argue that the book was out there, so it's IP. I think that's funny.
Yeah, true. Technically speaking, I think we know the difference between intellectual property and something that's just an adaptation.
I think it's also going to be very interesting with just, with streaming services and everything else. It's what you go for, because I was thinking about with Dune, the spinoff for the Sisterhood miniseries,
right?
The Batman having the Penguin one. we're looking at those and pretending like we wouldn't be making fun of them if it was a Marvel movie. So we are in a shifting time where the originators, all of these people, Spielberg saying he never do streaming, they're doing it. And I think we're now in this new thing where, there was that line, are these directors selling out or are they just cashing in? I feel you wait long enough and terms change. You wait long enough and now spin-offs and sequels won't always be the worst thing. He did do a trilogy. You don't think he's got another one in the works, or you think he's specifically saying this because he's looking at individual projects? Because even Denny right now, I think he's got a couple more Dunes in him.
I mean, he's talking about doing the third Dune, but I think he
Hell
was saying he
yeah.
doesn't want to do more than that, right?
But I think he's still producing like the shows and stuff. So he's overseeing it, kind of building a playground the way I just mentioned the Batman. What's his name? Reeves, right? Yeah, Matt
Reeves.
Matt Reeves. So I don't know. It's these interesting playgrounds where, like you were saying, Barbie is considered more original. It's the discussion we've been having because of the director who's behind it. Denny, Nolan, we look past it being IP because we know that they're going to bring something original to it. So I don't know. Maybe we do need that third category we've been saying, that midpoint of adapted original script, because
coming around,
not going anywhere. The remix category.
Yeah.
The mixtape script. There you go.
Exactly.
All right. Most important part of the show, Zach.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's thank those Intercutie patrons, those wonderful people who support the show over at patreon.com/intercutpod. They are on the Academy level: Tushar, Cademan, Connor, Josh, May, Ricky, Joe, Wiley, and Benji. And then, of course, the producer level patrons are Yuden Veer and Toon. Thanks so much for your continued support of the show. And a reminder that you too can go over to, again, patreon.com/intercutpod to sign up for all sorts of patron benefits, including a look at our episode outlines early. Sometimes you get a look at our episodes early when we get a chance to record them before live streaming them. You can also get access to some private channels on the Intercut Discord where you can discuss stuff with us throughout the week, and also an invitation to our monthly patron Google Hangouts, the next one of which is happening in an hour or so, whenever we wrap things up with the podcast. So yeah, not too late to go over and become a part of the Intercutie team, where you can also vote on the movie that we'll be discussing for our Coen Brothers Movie Club. A lot of good options there. So if you want to help influence the future Intercut content, you can do that by signing up at patreon.com/intercutpod.
Beautiful. Now we've got our upcoming week in releases. It's a pretty slow week because they're doing that midway release because it's Wednesday, and that's going to be Valentine's Day. They're releasing the movies there. I don't think there's Tuesday night showings, but they're not going to be coming out on Friday with Thursdays. It's all on Wednesday for that Valentine's Day release. And what is your double feature beginning with? Our first one that we have this weekend is Madam Web, the newest one from Sony Entertainment, where they have decided that they can make Spider-Man movies without Spider-Man. Yay or nay on this?
Big nay. I know a lot of people are like, this is going to be so much fun to watch this movie that Dakota Johnson clearly doesn't want to be in, but that's never been my impetus to go out to the movie theater. I'm ready for a Morbius level catastrophe.
Same thing.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I'll watch it out of curiosity's sake, but I'm not looking forward to this one at all.
Nay sober, yay on a MacGuffin's like flight from their bar for sure.
Yeah, maybe I got to go to the boozy theater for this one.
That could be it. Bob Marley, One Love. It seems like it's getting a little mixed reviews after getting bombarded with so many trailers. And then Matt Wed said, hold my beer, I'm going to do it over here. We got both of these movies coming out at the same time. And what's interesting is that they're kind of fighting for the theater. So depending on where you're at, you're going to have some in IMAX. Dune may be taking that. Dolby. I have a new Prime theater. So I'll be watching the music one in Dolby. And then I'll be watching the action one in Prime. I'm still kind of excited for this one because I think that we have a really good actor here in Kingsley Benadir, who has been on the come up, like even the tiny roles, like in Barbie. He does so much good work there. I think he's got a really, really strong future, and he's already been in some good movies. So I'm rooting for him in this role. We'll see how it goes. I had also told you that it was my boy. Like, I have liked this director for a while. I know he's done some projects that are like, company projects. He did King Richard as well, but We Own This City, Monsters of Men have been standouts for me. I hope this one's good as well. So Yay, you?
Yeah, we'll see.
We'll see.
I'm more looking forward to this one than Madam Web for sure, but
Yeah,
I don't know.
there is that
The trailer makes it look like a very standard music
standard.
biopic.
That's kind of the
Especially with like the Amy Winehouse trailer now starting to go around. It's just like, how many of these do we need and what is their
need.
purpose? But like
Yeah.
you said, Reynaldo Marcus Green, hopefully that implies that there is a little bit more than what the trailers are implying in this movie.
I know what you're really excited for is to just stay at home because the Dunkin'
Why
Donuts ad
leave?
really got you
Yeah.
to put this one on your watch list. This is me. ... Now
Now,
semicolon a love story
yes. Dash the film. Because there's
written
also
by
the album.
Ben Affleck and Jennifer Lopez.
Yeah, he's coming in, giving the Boston boy touch to it. The Oscar-winning director of Argo
Yeah.
behind this one. So
Uh-huh.
obviously, this is a classic in the making. From
So
my
this,
favorite film star and Iowa Debris as well, Jennifer Lopez.
to keep it in, the Boston terms, you are going
Yeah.
to need a Boston 6-pack for this, which is really just a 24-pack anywhere else in the country. I think this one's coming to Prime.
Yeah.
I really don't care, so you could just be telling me, yeah, and I would not know, dude. I felt she already made this movie last year with like Wedding Season. She is remaking the same story multiple times, and it's just her story, which she thinks people find. I know this is why people don't like her. And you know that I sometimes try to defend her just
Yeah.
from the sense of being not a creative, not an artist, but a hardworking performer.
Right.
But it's her being a performer, and I appreciate the stamina that I think gets people like Io and South Park jokes and everyone in pretty much in the industry to be like, you are a very nasty person, and a very self-centered person, because I guess that's all this story is, and it seems like it's going to be such a disaster. Yet it's so personal for her. I don't even know how to approach this.
I mean, look, if we're talking about the movie that I think is going to be a disaster that I'm looking forward to this weekend, it's not Madam Web, it's this one. Because, yeah, it looks a little like The Wedding Singer. It also weirdly looks a little bit like Cloud Atlas. Like, why is this like a multi-versal kind of story?
Why does it say Neil deGrasse Tyson in the cast?
Why is Fat Joe her therapist?
We'll see. You'll be able to tune in this weekend
Yeah.
as it comes out in digital.
I'm a little baffled.
On the 15th. There you go.
Yeah.
Not even on Valentine's Day, on the 15th. Not even the Friday, Thursday.
It's for the morning after Valentine's Day.
There you go. But if all of those movies aren't your cup of tea, I don't know if you added this.
I did.
Okay, because I noted this to Alita, but I did not add it to the list. I was like, bro,
Yeah.
Franklin's getting his own movie.
I love
like,
the
who the hell's
Peanuts.
Franklin? I'm like, boy, Franklin.
Yeah.
First, I think feature for Franklin. It's not even a feature because it's going to be a short, but I think Apple has collected the rights to all the Snoopy stuff out there. We had that Snoopy Peanuts movie not too long ago that had the very interesting 2D animation. And I think they've been making interesting stuff on a yearly basis. They do a lot of holiday specials for it. So it'll be interesting to see what they got with Franklin coming in. Is that your favorite character out of the Snoops?
I don't know who my favorite character is. I mean, Snoopy is probably my favorite Peanuts character, but they had a pretty cute one late last year that I think centered on Marcy. And
Okay.
I don't know, man. I mean,
they did have one, yes.
Yeah. And I just find these to be this world to kind of be like a warm hug. I just like spending time in the Charlie Brown universe. So I'll probably put this on at some point in the weekend and just have like a delightful 30 minutes or so.
Who's the one who's never able to kick the football?
That's Charlie Brown.
Okay. Who's the one who makes him not kick the football? The Snoopy?
Lucy?
Okay. So I like that whole act of him never being able to kick the football. That's my
Good
favorite
bit.
character right there. It's
It's a
a
great
great bit. But those are the movies coming out this week. Let's talk about our top picks for
Let's
the
do it.
week. Mine's got to be the one thing that we were able to catch the moment we came back from Sundance. We reached out. We said, hey, good press people, can we have the Vince Staples show? Hey, shout out Vince Staples and his people, though. They came back right away. Got us all of the episodes. We binged through that bad boy like nothing. And it is interesting. It is very much like his approach to adapting his life into a kind of meta story of what it's like to be Vince Staples, being raised in LA, living in LA. Some people recognize you, some people don't. You're like famous, but not famous enough to get the attention you don't want, but not to be able to get away with certain things. I really like the ups and downs to the show. It's sometimes rough around the edges, but I also think that that's what makes it, like, I don't want to say adorable, but interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting performances that we've been getting from him in this. Abbott Elementary, and I'm missing,
Mhm.
I think, a movie he was in. But I'm liking this new element to him, so
He
I'm down
was
for it.
in the bad White Men Can't Jump remake, but I think he was in something better too. I can't
Yeah,
remember.
because he was the one who like really he was like the agitated one out of the group who was like
Yeah.
very nervous. He overtalked in that. He's been doing different things, and I think this
Yeah.
is a good outing for him in the Vince Staples show. It's very short, and I think it's a fun watch.
Yeah, no, we put this on when I was still at your house, kind of like, I don't know, is this going to be good? Is this going to be bad? And we finished the whole season in one sitting, which I think speaks volumes to its quality and also to its runtime. You know, it's a nice, brief 15-minute episode, so it's pretty
Yeah.
easy to take in one sitting. But I think it's cool. It's probably going to get a lot of comparisons to Atlanta because it's a similar show about like a person in the rap sphere who is kind of doing something in more of a comedic vein. And I think there are certain similarities in the way that it utilizes its humor. It's not very like front and center with its jokes. It's kind of the atmosphere of a joke, like the vibe of a joke, with these like dark elements, dark societal elements sort of playing out underneath. But this is definitely a lot more Looney Tunes than Atlanta ever gets. Like there's just a broad physical
think so?
comedy. I mean, you know, Atlanta will have it in moments, but this I
Invisible
think
Car.
stays. Yeah, it'll have it had it in spits and like jokes, but like there's no sustained goofiness quite like the bank robbery episode of the Vince Staples show. And I think
Okay,
the sustained
that's good.
goofiness.
Okay, I see what you mean. This is like Three Stooges, but it never gets into that like almost Twin Peaks thing that sometimes you'll catch an episode of Atlanta and you can't leave a parking garage.
Right,
I
right.
It never gets into that here, but you are right. There are moments where it's just like this is so absurd for the scene that's happening. There's like three different tones happening. It's a bank robbery, and then it's also friends catching up.
Yeah,
Like the juxtaposition
exactly.
of things that happen in this man's life is what makes it funny. I'll throw
Yes.
another show out there that I think people also really like, Dave, where Lil Dicky
Right.
plays Lil Dicky, and he's been able to get some crazy cameos. This also has a good cameo dealing with chicken wings. It's so funny, dude. I have rewatched some episodes from this show, so this is 2 thumbs up for me. I know Zach also
Nice.
liked it as well, so that's my
I
first
do.
pick. It's going to be coming out on Netflix, The Vince Staples Show. Over on Hulu is Abbott Elementary, which we shouted out last week, and I have to put on here because they did the what was it, double episode, so it was about an hour long. They're cutting the episodes this year, so that 22 episode run has now
Mhm.
become 14. I know you think the 22 is needed, right?
Well, I like the 22 just because, like, I miss the days when we had sitcoms that lasted more than a couple weeks. You know what I mean?
Now it's only 14.
Yeah.
Obviously the strikes, obviously everything else, but they are hitting it hard. Right off the bat, they do a time jump, and I was like, oh, is this because of the
No
strikes? Is it
time
'cause
to
of this?
waste.
Dude, the way that they explain and blame it on the camera crew for why they were gone for a year is so funny. Right off the bat, dude, they are. I don't want to hype them up too much and say that they're better than they've been, but they're they're writing smooth. I like them. Their writing is still as good. Their performances are still as good, and they've got new people in here who have been some of my favorites in other shows. I like it. I like it. I like what they're mixing in with, and I like the storylines that they're going with. I am very excited for this season. It's got to be my pick again. Abbott Elementary season 3 on Disney Hulu.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a gift that show continues to be in our lives and that we get to hang out with those characters. It's so funny. The cast is so good. So I'm looking forward to the whole season of Abbott Elementary.
And then my final one was a movie that I just rewatched. I put in my Dune disc only to find out. Do you know that they don't release the official like 143 of IMAX anywhere?
You can only see it on IMAX screens.
There is no copy of this anywhere. So I put in my 4K, put in the Blu-ray, nothing. I was not going to travel to an IMAX theater, so I decided the next best thing was to go to the new Prime Theater. I went to rewatch it, soaked into the world of Arrakis, and I was delighted to find out that we had an extra scene if you see Dune on this re-release.
Ooh.
Bro, there is a whole after credit sequence where they come out to talk to you about the making of the next movie, and then they show you the entirety of the worm scene.
From the next movie.
Baby, we're cooking from 2.
Ooh.
It's a
ooh,
whole
okay.
scene. Now, Alina's arguing that they don't have the score in it yet. So like it's not even completed yet, and it already looks epic. Once you throw in that Hans Zimmer score, I have been hearing that this is the Empire Strikes Back of movies, especially when it comes to Dune, and you
Shout
know
out
that's
Chris
funny.
Nolan.
You know that's funny because
Yeah.
Star Wars is literally just Dune and took a lot of it from that storyline into their movies. So it's funny to
Yeah.
see the better version, in my opinion, that's about to come out. We were talking about how many more movies could there be. There is a total of 6 books, and the first book seems like it's already being split into 3 parts. So I can only imagine what they're going to be doing with this. The rewatch is worth it. If you haven't had the chance to catch it in IMAX, trust me, if I had an IMAX near me like that, I would have gone to it. Go do yourself the favor for Dune 1, and if you can't, then for Dune 2. Because, Zach, I completely forgot that Dune 2 is doing that 70 millimeter thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's shot digitally, but they're printing it on film to give it that feel. When we go to Austin, we're going to see the digital one. In Indiana, I'm going to see the film one. And next Tuesday, I already got my screening for Dune 2 and Dolby. So I got them all marked off already. If there was a 3D version, I'd watch it too. But an Apple Pro Vision version, I'd watch that too. But I am so Dune mode right now. It's insane. Yeah, fantastic rewatch. 2 thumbs up. I think you have until next Friday to catch this again in theaters.
Nice. That 6-minute clip or preview they are showing around on YouTube. That's not what played at the end of the movie. I don't know if you've seen that.
I have not seen it. What is it?
I didn't watch
It's
it.
him-
I'm trying to keep myself as clean as possible. I got
would it
a
be called?
screening next week of Dune.
Dune 2
Preview?
Popcorn Bucket, right? Oh yeah, the extended sneak preview. This right here?
Yeah.
Nah.
Yeah. Was that what you saw or something different?
Nah. Okay. Well, right here. This.
Oh, okay.
Let me see.
It's out? What? I'm gonna close my eyes and cover my ears. I don't want to spoil myself. I need the worm preserved.
Let me see. It's the worm scene, but there's not the preview that happens before. So you're safe.
All right. Cool.
Oh, well, there you go. You have the worm scene right here. It's not. They did not show it in full ratio though. So if that's important to you, they are saving that and the soundtrack for that. But yeah, this would be the scene. And then Denis and Zendaya come out to like speak for a little bit. So
Nice.
if you are looking forward to catching it in theaters before the new one, I mean, these are the most theatrical movies that are out there, and I'm excited that it's getting a re-release. This, Tenet, Dune 2, 3 back-to-back 1.3 IMAX movies may OD me, bro. I don't even know how to say it. But those are my picks for the week. Vince Staples, Abbott, Dune. Zach, take it away.
My first pick for the week is a movie that we first caught at last year's South by Southwest. It is called Monolith, apparently getting a limited theatrical release. And I think it's a really interesting movie that follows this journalist who is putting together a podcast and doing some investigation into this supernatural mystery, these monoliths that people are seeing. And it just does a really good job of sort of getting across this like quiet paranoia of sorts as she debates, you know, how is this real? Can she prove it? What's happening to these people and her, and just the way that it sort of builds on that discomfort, I think is pretty strong for what is like feels like a pretty small movie, not like a huge movie in terms of scope or cast or budget, but I thought it was very effective. A pretty interesting indie. What I'm assuming is the debut from the director, because I hadn't heard from them before.
I think so.
Yeah. So Monolith is totally worth checking out in terms of new releases. But in terms of looking backward, one thing that is on my radar, since we are in Dune mode and getting ready for Dune 2, thanks to Denis, the Film at Lincoln Center in New York is doing a whole Denis Villeneuve a retrospective series where they're screening a bunch of his movies on the big screen. So if you haven't had a chance to see some of his iconic films presented that way, and you're in New York, now is a great opportunity to go see Incendies, go see Enemy, go see a bunch of cool stuff. I think it's
you say
running.
Incendies?
Yeah, I think that's what it is.
Okay,
I'm trying, you know.
All right, bro. Damn.
Me a little bit.
Let me know before the bracket before I go in the saying Incendies. Incendies. Okay, damn, bro. Bring a croissant and everything. All right.
I mean, look, somebody's probably going to comment and be like, "That is not how you pronounce it, bro." But I'm trying. I'm trying, and that's what's important.
They're gonna send Pepe Le Pew on you. What was the last time you saw Incendies?
I actually haven't seen any of the French ones. I've only seen the English ones, so this is going to be
Wait,
an
wait, wait,
opportunity
wait,
for me to
wait,
catch
wait,
up.
wait. So I'm missing Polytechnique,
Yeah,
however you say it.
which is
But
also playing. So get
that's
your
one
ass
that
to
I
New
need to
York.
see. But bro, dude, the
I
talk
know.
after you catch Incendies, I saw that. I'm pretty sure as a full grown teenager, and I was too young for that ending. I'm very curious to see how it hits you.
Yeah,
Like you don't know anything, right?
I know like very, very little. I know
Oh,
there's
okay,
a
then you know.
Radiohead song in there. I know there's some shaving heads in there.
Bro, that's the crazy one right there. Holy
Yeah,
smokes! All right, it's gonna be a good one at Lincoln Center.
yeah, for sure.
That's cool.
So yeah, hopefully I see some Intercuties in the crowd for some of those. Another movie that I'm hoping the Intercuties check out now that it is starting to make its way out in theaters is The Taste of Things. I know it is playing at least in New York. I don't know if it's made its way out to Chicago yet. I hope it does because any food adjective that you can think of that might also apply to a film totally applies here. It is delectable. It is beautifully prepared. It is just so scrumptious and delicious to watch this movie. Just an absolutely lovely portrait of love and food preparation that will make you make your mouth water and your stomach growl. I don't know. I felt like my heart was so warmed by this love story where people are just so kind to each other and also put so much care into food prep. If you're a person who likes cooking or likes watching cooking shows, like this is just going to be so much food porn for you. But even if you don't, I just think that the story itself is so sweet and worthwhile that I hope people will check it out. I know a lot of people are sort of like frustrated with this one because it got that accolade from France and was submitted to the Academy instead of everyone's favorite Anatomy of a Fall. I kind of like this one a little bit more than Anatomy of a Fall, for being real.
Ooh.
It's just a very sweet movie.
Bro, I cannot find a vegan alert for this, but damn, was this the funniest vegan alert for a movie? If you know, we're not even wasting time with that, but if you know, you know. Two, you sent me the press people. They got back to me real quick, so thank you for reminding me that my
Hey.
link expires at the end of this week, so I gotta get to
Oh
it.
shoot, yeah, get on that, man. You gotta watch it. I need to hear
Okay.
what dish you are most excited to try.
All right, I'm excited. I'm gonna pick whatever day I am the hungriest, probably hump day, and then go at it. So this will be my Valentine's Day movie to watch then at home. But I think it will be playing at the Gene Siskel near us. So there is
There we go.
there is going to be a theatrical showings there. But awesome, cool, taste things.
All right, so should we go through our picks for the week one more time?
For sure. Over here on my end, and I don't even have it popped out here, so we'll display it like this. For me, Vince Staples. If you have a Netflix account, do yourself a favor and get to know this man because I think the more you know him, the funnier the show is. But you can still kind of get the grasp of it. You get what a rapper in America is like and what they have to go through, and they play off that very well. Abbott Elementary. You've been seeing Quinta everywhere. She's now in 2 Super Bowl ads. She is a Golden Globe, Emmy, everything winner. It is insane that we were covering Black. Was it a Black Lady sketch show?
Sketch show,
Way
yeah.
back when she was in it. She knew she was so good that she went and did her own thing. God bless the following seasons of that show. They haven't been good as season 1, but look who invested everything in
Who
herself
emerged,
and now
yeah.
has one of the best ones out there. So shout out Abbott Elementary, another show to catch as it's on its 3rd season. And then Dune, the reissue, it is out in IMAX, and let me tell you, there is a difference. I still love the movie having watched it cropped again in this new theater. Sound was good. Chairs were fantastic. But that IMAX just makes it different. If you're a person who's like, oh, IMAX doesn't mean anything to me, sure. Maybe you like watching cropped Instagram pictures. Maybe you like posting to Twitter and having your things not be organized the way it should be. But the man directed it in a certain way, and damn, does it make a difference. Do yourself a favor, catch Dune, the reissue in IMAX. Before Dune 2.
All right, great picks. My picks this week are Monolith, a really creepy and effective small-time indie thriller that's got some supernatural qualities too, about a journalist who turns to podcasting and uncovers a strange phenomena occurring from some people. Worth checking that one out. Also
From South
worth
by, right?
checking out from South by last year. Also worth checking out is the Denis Villeneuve series at the Film at Lincoln Center. If you haven't had the chance to see some of this master's works on the big screen, from Arrival to An Enemy to Incendies to Polytechnique and more, it is playing in New York. So if you're in the city, a great chance to catch those movies at a great theater.
You know, it's pronounced prisoner.
Prisoner. Enemy. I don't know.
We're gonna come in with the dumbest
fake pronunciations, and then call him Denis Villeneuve.
Hey, that's the one thing that we should actually. Is he gonna be there?
I actually don't think he is, but maybe they'll announce him late. Yeah.
We've got a lot of shows to go to. There's a lot of awards.
Yeah, he's got to talk to Christopher Nolan a few more times or something. And then my last pick for the week is one of my favorite international films of the year. It is The Taste of Things, the absolutely scrumptious film out of France that will warm your heart and satiate your soul.
I heard it's so good. You could be a vegetarian, and even they will love it.
Yeah, it's that.
The veg says.
It's that delicious.
Good. It's that delicious. But that is all for this week's show. Along with over here, going through all of the movies, TV. We had some extra Sundance pick news. I mean, we also did have a whole Super Bowl trailer. Which, speaking
It's
of,
a busy week.
You win anything?
Nah, man. I showed up too late to do some squares. I was at a busy weekend.
I almost had it, but Pacheco couldn't score a damn touchdown. No, Pacheco didn't score a touchdown, bro. I tried to bet everyone's favorite, whatever. Oh my goodness. Hey, shout out the Nickelodeon draft. That one was pretty funny. Their version.
Nickelodeon broadcast.
I should have caught more of it. I kept hopping on it on my phone, and my brother was like, "Turn that off," because it's just SpongeBob like laughing. But seeing all the aftermath of it, I hope there's a recording. I will run through it again just to see them ad-lib for
Paramount.
4 hours as SpongeBob.
Yeah,
that's mad respect.
Shout out Tom Kenny.
Hey, shout out to them for sure. But that is all for this week's show. You can find more from me at LME Movies on all social media, Twitter, Letterboxd, YouTube, where I'll be coming up with some stuff for all of the new releases. We're working on Argyle and Lisa Frankenstein. Got to make sure I put how much Zach loved it when I mentioned that. But Zach, where can people catch more from you?
You can catch me at Zshevich across social media for more of my thoughts, including my Letterboxd reviews, or you can find more videos from me at Multiplex Show on YouTube, on Instagram, and on TikTok, where I think the next thing I'm working on is like the Oscars feast for this year. Got some more punny names to offer.
You got good ones?
I got a couple. I got a couple decent ones.
Are you saving it for?
I'll save it for when I can present the whole thing. I don't want to give
saving
you
it
half
for
a
March.
for
I don't
March
care what you
10th
make.
at
I want to know
7
who's
p.m.
eating it.
No, that's
I'm
actually
concerned about the guests.
No, that's the
last
thing.
time you made the ball.
Yeah, I made them all, and I'm gonna have to figure out how to eat all this stuff this weekend. I'm trying to invite some friends over.
I'm saying you need the table, bro.
Yeah, dude, I'm doing a whole minestrone. That's the one thing I'll give away.
You forgot to put open on the board, bro.
So if you don't have plans this weekend, let me know.
Because you don't do little dishes at all. This man make a minestrone.
It's gotta be party style.
All we need is the party. But hey, we're going to be watching them together from South by. So maybe there's a chance. Dry freeze them, bringing them over. But you can catch more from us over here on the Intercut podcast every week. A reminder that you can listen to every episode of this podcast on iTunes, Anchor, Spotify, whatever your favorite podcatcher is. You can catch the live show video every Monday, where we talk about all the good stuff for 2-something hours until we run out of words and what to say. Next week, we are looking at trying to get a lot of stuff ahead before we go into South by. So there is a couple more reviews we're looking to make. There's definitely a Coen Brothers bracket, which again, as Zach mentioned earlier for the patrons, we're going to kind of be going through a lot of those picks with y'all, even a Denny one. And we have alternates for both brackets. So that's going to be an interesting thing to break down. So a big shout out to all those Intercuties who have been listening live, all of the patrons who we're going to talk to in a little bit, all the iTunes listeners who leave us that 5-star review. Thank you very much. Again, thank you guys for watching the show. Don't forget to comment, drop a like, follow all the socials down below. And until next time, keep watching movies. We'll see you all in Arrakis.